Welcome back to HLTV Confirmed for episode 12 in season 5. I guess the seasons make sense if you guys are catching up and you're watching all the episodes. But look, let me give you the quick summary of what's going down on today's show. We have a guest. His name is smooya. He's going to be chatting some shit. That's why we brought him on, for all of his shit talk. Second of all, we're going to be looking at some of the recent roster changes, players stepping down, people getting more bans from the ESIC side of things. We've got some tournaments to look back on. We had so many events going down back to back and even more kicking off today. Finals to discuss. We got Blast starting and more roster changes. So all in all, that's what's on today's show. But before we can get into that, I need to introduce everybody. We have our producer who seems to still remain with his position. Lucas, do you get paid or are you now paying us?
Wait, you guys get paid for this?
Okay, well, good start. Prof, how's it going, mate? Is everything all right out there?
All good, all good. Great times.
Great
not seeing you for 2 weeks. So
yeah,
that's all.
We're on
nice.
a bit of hiatus. Striker, what have you done with your 2 weeks in between? Anything exciting?
No, same stuff as always. Watching CS, pretty much.
All right, so we're all as boring as one another. And I guess before we introduce smooya, we have to play the bumper. Lucas, roll it. All right, well, if you can't see the man on your screen, maybe you need the audio introduction. This is smooya. This is the UK famed individual, AWP player, recently playing for Contact, now no more, a free agent. smooya, how the bloody hell are you going, mate?
I'm doing good, bro. Just chilling during this whole pandemic stuff. Moved out recently with my girlfriend. It's a big step for me. No longer mummy's boy getting all my washing done for me. Yeah, and right now I'm in an office because I live in a village hall that has no internet. So yeah, so I'm going pretty stressful, but
you're making it work.
It is what it is. Yeah, just powering through. How are you doing? How's everyone doing on the show, guys?
We took some time off. We took a week off because I had a CIS Counter-Strike on Monday, so we couldn't do the show on the Monday just gone, so we missed one. But all in all, I think everybody is kind of enjoying all the Counter-Strike. There's been so much CS up until this point.
There's been a lot, man. Holy hell.
And I think you're the perfect guest to kind of have today, because once we get through the check-in with smooya situation, we have a lot to discuss. There's been shitloads of roster changes, everything going on. So let's go over what happened with you and your most recent team of Contact. Do you want to kind of give everybody a bit of a summary? Because you joined the squad, it was a couple months back. And
end of August, I believe.
Yeah, and now you're a free agent once more. Do you want to kind of, from start to finish, the whole Contact project for yourself?
Yeah. So, of course, long story short, before everyone starts fucking shitting at me saying, yeah, free agent, go put up some numbers, and then fuck all you motherfuckers. So I'm good friends with Snappi. We were meant to link up in the Tiger project, as everybody knows. I'm also good friends with Neil M, who's the coach of Contact. And it was meant to be a discussion of me and Snappi joining for Emmy and Letney before, but something fell through. They weren't sure on me, and I was like, okay, whatever, I'll just carry on playing Warzone. So I was just grinding Warzone at the time. Yeah, so anyhow, I somehow Neil persuaded them to like say, yeah, let's try Owen, but as a rifle and second op, because I wanted to try something new, because yeah, I've played every position on every map now apart from rifle, right? And I thought maybe it can work, maybe I can teach Otto some stuff, maybe he can teach me some stuff and like become really strong. And it was going well for like the first month. Like I was having fun, I was playing okay. Like I don't think I was like the weak link of the team, even though I was rifling, which is, I was kind of shocked, I guess, because I've always been flamed for my rifle, but it was like top 2 in the team. And then it was just a case of me wanting to AWP in like 6 months, and if that meant replacing Otto or Otto rifling, we couldn't come to like an agreement. And Snappi's mind wants to go long term, like he wants to play for 2 years with this team, you know. And I said I'd happily be there for 2 years, but I can't rifle for 2 years because I know my potential as an AWP. I feel like on my day, if I'm comfortable in a good surroundings, I can be top 5. Like I've proven at every LAN, I've never really been smashed by one AWP, you know. Like I always put up a fight against him. And that's no disrespect to Otto. Like when I was playing, I would make sure he always got AWPs. Like I have this rule in my team where, so you might see it often, NAVI save an AWP, okay? Back in the day, Zeus saved the AWP. And just because Simple can't afford armor, Zeus keeps the AWP. It's like, you have an AWPer who's paid to AWP, so if you take 100 rounds and put it in like a vacuum, you have the highest chance of winning if you give the AWP to this guy. Even if you have to drop him a gun the next round, it just makes sense. So I made sure he had that. I showed him some stuff. He showed me some stuff. Yeah, we did okay, and then we just like, I don't know. For me, it was a case of I wasn't really happy how it was going, and I got told that I wouldn't be able to AWP. I just said it's better if you guys find a better rifler, who will do it long term, you know. And to be honest, I'm happy with it. Like, it was a good experience. No hard feelings towards any of them. I still speak to Snappi. I still play Among Us with Snappi and the coach often, and Neil and stuff. So there's no like bad blood or anything. I just thought I felt, what's the word, like, not holding them back, but in a way, because I knew I wasn't 100% invested into being a rifle, you know. So I'm not gonna sit and go collect a salary because I'm not that kind of player. I just waste their time and my time, you know. So
Sure.
yeah.
Okay, so is it?
I
Yeah,
wanted
go
to
for it,
ask, like, is this kind of a similar situation to when you left Big before the major? Like, that was a very controversial thing, and I think it still is to a degree.
I want to
Because-
clear that up, okay?
Yeah.
Because I see people comment about that saying, "Yeah, lol, you left your team before major, ha 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 ha." I got kicked. I didn't leave the team. I basically got kicked to them. Yeah, I think you guys would be better off with someone else, you know, like wishing they would say, "No, come back, Owen." Like, I wanted some reassurance, and they're like, "Yeah, fine, leave. We find someone else." I'm like, "Oh shit, okay." Like, it wasn't a case of, "Yeah, I'm leaving. I don't want you guys to do well. I hate you guys." It was, I just basically tried to get some attention off Tabson because I used to like look up to him so much, and he said, "No, we don't want you." And I said, "Okay, that's fine, I guess." Okay, I just went and cried.
Yeah, I wanted to leave anyway. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, you want to kick me? I didn't want to be here anyway." Yeah, that's how it looked, but it wasn't like that at all. Like, yeah, so that's just that whole. Everybody says, "Dude, you left your team to like, you made them go 0-3." I'm like, I didn't make them go 0-3. They had a one map lead against ENCE 14-7, man, and then they threw the round. Like, it's not my fault. And they wanted me out the team anyway. Like, they didn't let me play my positions. So, but again, yeah, I mean, that happened, and I did not leave the team. I basically got kicked. So yeah.
I guess that answers your question, Prof. But a little bit different from the big scenario.
Yeah, sorry
But-
about the big one. Yeah, it annoys me to this day. Everyone comment like, "Yeah, but Oz can't trust this guy. He might just leave before the major." I'm just sat there like, you have no idea. I'm like, I got kicked. I can't do anything. So, yeah, it's just so annoying.
Okay, so with this contact team that you were in, there was Spinx was in the team with you, right?
Yeah, Lotan.
So with that kid, who was it who we heard good things from? Was it Device?
Device,
Yeah.
yeah, his top
Yeah.
20 prediction.
So how was he to play with?
Spinx, I've said after playing, I think I played like 3 practices with him maybe, or 3 or 4 games, and I just said, if this guy keeps the attitude he has, of course it's so hard to judge someone when you've known them for 1 day, 2 days, 1 month, because no one's really comfortable with you until like 3-4 months, I feel. Like, if you play in a team, it's why it's the honeymoon phase, because everyone's okay with the shit, everyone's okay with losing a close round, but after 3 months and you've lost the same round 5 times, people start flaming each other and saying, "Yeah, you're shit, let's kick this guy, nah. But if Spinx just keeps on the way he's going, I think he'll be a top 30 player easily. I've never seen someone aim the way he aims so consistently. It's the weirdest thing. But right now, I'm praying for him because he has some horrible roles in contact. So if he manages to keep the hype around him, I'd be happy, but it's so hard because he plays many bad positions. But I think that's going to change soon in contact, so
Okay.
yeah. But if he had all the positions he wanted, like, he would be like an electronic, you know, or someone of that caliber. Like, he can bang with the best. Yeah, he's only getting better. And he's like 19 or something. So young, so yeah.
So, like, obviously, you said you have a good relationship with Snappi. What is it about, like, is it the Snappi Counter-Strike style, or just Snappi as a person that you're a fan of? Or is it a bit of both?
I'm not so sure, to be honest. It's a bit random because we were never really friends before the whole Tiger thing. I never played with him in FPL. Never spoke to him, really. We kind of just spoke and we were just cool with each other. More on like a person, like a friend level, you know? Like, we kind of agree with each other on some things. In CS, we don't agree with it a lot, but because I actually like him so much, he's like the first person I've been able to get around that with and change the way I want to play and change the way I think, because he's also very smart. Like, before CS, he had some crazy job, you know? So I understand he's not stupid. Yeah, honestly, I think it was just like a random click.
Okay. All right.
Nice guy.
Do you have any questions, boys, about the contact stuff before we move forward?
I think a question like a lot of people asked was, what was, when you're talking about Snappi, like, was there something that you learned from this experience in contact and playing under him as an IGL, Danish IGL, so kind of different style to playing in Chaos for sure and other teams?
Well, the one thing I noticed was, if I was it different? It wasn't really different, to be honest. Like, I would just say he's more. I would say, as you say, the Danish style. In America, it was absolute fucking free for all. You have this spawn. You want to do this? Yeah, fucking see you next round, dude. Good luck. Don't honestly mute your mic. We don't care. Just go kill this guy. Like, no one cares. But with Snappi, he's more of a. The one thing I've noticed about him is he's very specific about the roles that he wants. So, so if I was to explain that, it would be when he played in Optic, he always tells a story that Config's the best mechanical player he's ever played with. And he played in Astralis, right? He still says to this day, Config, if that guy plays deathmatch and does what he needs to do, no one can play like Config, like, individually. I was like, yeah, but I'm not sure if that's true. I feel like Device is better. He's like, no, trust me, he's the best. I'm like, why? He said, because he's the only person you'll ever meet who will not let go of W running into a bomb site. He doesn't care his salary, he doesn't care what's happened in the morning, he doesn't care what's going on around him. If you tell him to run into this wall, he will run into this wall. And that's the kind of same as Esperanto. And that's why he has like huge praise on Esperanto, because it's also true. If we throw one, even if we say to SB, honestly, bro, we have no nades. We'll see you next round. And he'll just full W out hood on nuke through 5 smokes molotovs, and he'll just kill 3. And I'm just like, I mean, that's impressive, because I would have stopped like 10 seconds ago. I'd have just baited, you know? So yeah, I would say that's the biggest thing. Like, he's very specific on the roles that he wants and which player can play this role. And he's not going to join a team where it doesn't make sense, you know? He kind of pre-plans how he wants the team to work before he joins it and finds the pieces he wants. Like, that's why he took Spinx as well, because he knows he can just play any position really well. So yeah, that's the one thing I noticed really about Marco. He has like a very he thinks about the game a lot. Or like more about the team, how it's gonna function, sorry.
They did just lose to Copenhagen Flames.
Oh mate, they lose often. We also lost a lot when I was in there, don't worry about that.
Do you think there's hope for the roster? Yeah,
of course. It was close map, man. I bet if you watch this demo, someone missed a smoke, someone missed a flash. Yeah. They probably lost both pistols. Yeah. Right. We lost so many games. We lost to Mousebots, like, I think the score was like 67 to 65 or something. We played like 5 million rounds of CS. I swear to God, we watched this demo back. I can't tell what happened when we were watching the demo back, but something bad happened, and then Esperanto took a week break. So,
okay, fucking hell.
Like, the mistakes were that bad. Like, it wasn't SP's fault or anything, but it was like that game was fucking brutal, man. Oh my God, it was so sad. And then yeah, so they obviously have potential because they've replaced me with a better rifle, and we played close against everyone we played. Like, we never got destroyed on the server, you know, like 16-5 or something. It was always 16-11 plus. And even the 16-11 games, we lost every pistol round. So, but yeah,
that week was when Mousesports won like 3 games just like that to qualify for.
Every game
was like
matches. Yeah. Then they beat Astralis. Like, literally the next day they beat us.
I mean,
like,
that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
Barely straight by Endpoint, beat Astralis. Can I ask you just one more thing? DJ coached you as well, right?
Yeah.
So what is he like as a coach? That's the guy that played with the Japaleno Swedish mix with Freddy Frog and Relaxa for like most of his career, and he's like originally from Croatia or something. So that's like plus points and my interest for the team. So what is he like as a coach?
I would say he's probably the second best coach I've had after Toby. Toby's like no one's touching Toby. The only thing with Daniel is what I taught him as well, and like I think they're still trying to teach now, is to be more confident, because it's quite hard because he doesn't trust his English that much, so it's quite hard for him to like articulate himself. But he clearly has like an insane view on the game. He understands like which rounds you need to win, which rounds you can't afford to lose, how to win those rounds, how to not lose those rounds. Like, whereas I've had coaches before who they know what to do, but they can't like put a plan in place, you know. But Daniel's, he's like if he sees a problem, he tries to fix it straight away, which it sounds quite simple for people who are watching, but most coaches are like too lazy to even do that. He has like great knowledge on the game because he's played for like a top 30 team. He watches CS all the time. And he's just the nicest guy I'll ever meet. Like, he's too nice. So I told him when I joined the team, if you see me do some bullshit, please tell me that I'm doing bullshit. Like, don't let it slide, you know? because that was my thing in my past teams where I joined like Chaos, for example, and I was like the bigger name, and they would let me like push for eco frags and they wouldn't say anything, or I would do something stupid. I said, I want you to tell me if I'm doing bullshit because I want to fix this shit, you know, like I'm sick and tired of being a noob. And like I tested it, okay? So the first practice we ever played, I literally buy a PP Bison. First we win pistol, next round I buy a PP Bison. I full rush long, does 2 through long doors, kill the guy car, kill the guy T-spawn. I'm like, Daniel, was that a good round? He's like, yeah, it was okay. I'm like, bro, that was not okay, man. I said, you have to write down straight away and tell me after the practice it's retarded. Like, it's impossible you let me do this stuff. But he worked on that a lot, and now he's like, he actually shouts and stuff in team meetings, which is, you need that in a coach, you know? Sure. But yeah, I love Daniel a lot, man. He helped me a lot with some stuff, so recommend that to most teams.
You said that nobody would touch Toby as a coach, at least from the coaches you've had experience with. Because Toby seems, I don't want to say closed off. I probably
he's very closed off. He's
okay,
like
so
private, yeah.
So when we do the interviews with him on broadcast, he's very German. And
very German.
Well, like I basically live in Germany again now, right? So like there's people around me all the time, but with that, it's not. The conversation doesn't flow with him, right? So it's hard to kind of get to the root of some of the questions we want to ask. Why is Toby, in your mind, such a good coach? Like, what kind of attributes?
People in chat are confused. Toby is the coach of Big currently.
Yeah, Toby, not
Toby.
Like
T-O-W-B. But he's also Tobias, so people probably call him Toby.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
So Toby, the new the coach of Big or whatever. I find it weird when he does interviews because it's very easy to see when he's not comfortable. Because I spoke a lot. Like after practice, we would just go for a drive and talk for 4 hours. You know, like every night for like 2 weeks in a row, maybe. So like we know each other pretty well. And when I hear him in interviews, I almost just want to like slap the back of his head and say, "Bro, just be confident. Like your English is really good, man."
Yeah.
But he's like stutters and he gets nervous and he doesn't like when there's a camera on because he's just not that kind of guy. Like if I see a camera, like. I don't know, my dick get hard, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just excited. But he's like the complete opposite. Like, he hates attention, he hates everything. But for me, the reason he's the best coach is, I mean, he's just the best human I've met, man. He's the most dedicated person you'll ever meet. Like, not even close. He'll be like, right, guys, I'm going to bed at like 2 a.m. He's just watched like 7 demos back to back, like wrote a bunch of notes. He goes to bed. Before I go to bed at 6 a.m., he's already awake, working out, drinking his espressos, writing the notes for practice. We start prac at like 11, by the way. He turns up to prac 2 hours early. If we turned up 5 minutes late, guys, where are you? No. And I'm like, at first we were like, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, because we're always late in big. Like, when we had Kakafu and Legia, holy shit, if we had prac at 10, it didn't start till 1 p.m., you know? Like, we were so, like, everyone on the team was just quite lazy. But that's why they've got so good, man. Without Toby, I don't think they would have got to where they are. Okay. He's just very, like, because he also played poker at a high level, so he's pretty good at problem solving, you know, and, like, playing by the numbers, So you can see he brings it to CS where he'll look at a round, he'll really think about it and say, okay, if I play this 100 times, what's the biggest chance to win? And that's why Big are playing so well right now, because they play every round like that. Apart from when Xantra just buys AK solo and runs out mid and 1-clicks-4. Apart from that, or Saracen wins a 1v5, or Kaito 1-deeks-4 through a smoke. You know what I'm saying? But normally that's because of Toby.
Cool. Okay, cool. That's a nice little insight there. Now let's bring this forward a little bit. So now that you're no longer part of Contact, you left, obviously, you're on a trial basis. You just mentioned before that it was you want to play your roles. The future, then, you're open to teams who are looking for an AWPer by the sound of things. I saw you making a tweet. Did you tweet something about Valorant?
I was just joking about that.
All right. Well, we got to make sure.
No. I mean, so I would like to AWP because I feel like it's what I can bring most to a team. That's kind of it, man. I played Valorant for like the last 5 days. Quite fun, but it's not CS. Like, to me, CS is like my baby, you know, because it changed my life so much. I went from being like a kid that had absolutely no money. I was living in a council estate. I had the same pair of shoes for 5 years, and now I can just go buy Gucci shoes if I'm bored, you know. So it's quite nice. And I'd like to. For me, it's I feel like every player needs like a want or a why they play the game, you know. Mine's just I never want to get to that point again in my life. Like it was brutal. So yeah, that's why I'd like to stay on CS because it's done so much for me already, and I swear I can do so much more. I feel like every time I do this interview, I say the same shit, and everyone just quotes it and talks shit, but it's so annoying, man.
But you're only 21, right?
Yeah, of course, and I'm better than the fucking most AWPers in teams, man.
Yeah, but like you're young still, right? So there's plenty of opportunity, and I think like as you're maturing through the game, more opportunities are going to come for someone who speaks English as a native language, right? We're seeing more and more of these international teams happening, and there's been a lot of roster changes recently. Is there any fucking backdoor deals going down, or any conversations?
I can't say anything.
Okay.
Like last time I had something, but I can't say anything. Yeah.
Last time it was the Tiger mess that was happening.
Last time there was also that talk about like some team offering you like a stand-in for like a top 10 team. Then you couldn't say what it was. What do you remember that?
Yeah, of course I remember that.
What can you say now? What team it was?
No, I can't say. I gave him my word that I wouldn't say. So
okay,
I tried.
But let me check where they are.
Are they still top 10?
Let me check. I don't even. How do you check teams on this?
Just go on the team.
Search the team now. Just tell us the team now. I'll do it for you.
No, I can't comment. It's okay.
Liquid probably could use an AWPer at the moment. Anyway, before
Liquid
we get
never rests, but
all right. Well, we know it wasn't. Well, now Little Momo's over there. Maybe he'll hook it up. All right. Well, I guess for those people who are listening and those people who are going to be listening in the future, if you want an AWPer, hit smooya up. His DMs are probably open. He even has an office now, so that's very official. Now, this last one here that you've whacked down, Prof. UK players finding success. Are we talking about the mezies of the world? Is that where we're going with this one?
Mezii, Thomas, and stuff.
Yeah, Thomas went to NV.
That's
we
true.
have mezii. Alex is now in Cloud9. Endpoint also has some like a couple of UK players.
Endpoint are playing well, man.
Let's do this, smooya. If you could, you were the mantelpiece, or you were the decider. You're in this UK team. You can pick 4 other UK players around you to build a team to fly the flag. Who you picking?
Okay, so the thing is for me, is it fucking annoys me that Alex calls himself UK when he's lived in France like more than he's lived in England.
I agree.
Like he's just saying that he's English, then he's like in a top 5, you know.
Yeah, but you need an in-game leader.
Yeah, I'll take him, but I don't want to take him. He's of course he's an insane IGL man, but he's always like, yeah, I'm the best English player. I'm like, dude, you don't even fucking English. Like, fuck up.
Mate, I got a British passport as well. I could pretend I'm British.
Wait, really?
I do when it helps. Yeah, my dad's a fucking pom, so I have 2 passports. I can be the coach of the team.
Okay, so we'll take Coach Sponge. We'll take Alex as the IGL. I would be the AWP.
Yeah.
I would take Thomas, mezii.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of fucking eco hunters right there. We need a support player. Surreal. I'll take Surreal. I don't know if I'm
secondary AWPing with Surreal.
But the thing is, Mantu played rifle in all of his teams before OG, man. If Mantu was willing to rifle, then I would take Mantu. But if not, I would take
You have
Surreal.
a whole lot of English people who are essentially not English, you know, like Chad,
Yeah, of
course. Chad as the coach, Mantu as the Polish English guy, Alex as the French English guy.
All you need is the UK flag to play here. All you need is a UK flag. But, yeah.
Okay, so you said Mantu if he's willing to rifle and probably secondary AWP. Thomas, mezii.
Or main AWP, I don't care. Just carry me.
There you go. So that's not a bad team. That's actually not a bad team. Why didn't Henry make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, let's just... I can't talk. It's okay.
Interesting.
Okay, so out of all those, I guess the one that's probably going to get the most spotlight in the recent future will be mezii, right? And it's somebody who has been picked up without having achieved a lot, right? Someone that's they're taking a risk on him, and Henry must have seen the hype around him. Is this someone that you're quite familiar with?
So mezii actually was to play for a team called TPO. This was way back, like 3-4 years ago, at some UK event, and I watched him play for like 5 rounds. And I stood behind him, and there was like a group of people watching, and I said, he's the only player in the UK who can have more skill than me. And I said this 4 years ago. You can ask mezii, ask anyone. I was close to buying him a PC because the team he was playing with took the PC back off him, and he couldn't play for 1 year. Wow. And I was like, I had spoke to him like, bro, do you want a PC? Like, I can help you, we can go halves, whatever. But he stayed in uni at the time just to get it finished. Fucking pussy. So, yeah. So I can't take the claim to fame to making him pro. But I've always, like, if he's ever needed anything, I've always gone on a serve with him, helped him and stuff. Don't appreciate him saying he's the new king of the UK, because this guy, I'll fucking knock him out. But
you guys all have that super dumb confidence. Like, I don't know what it is about British counterparts. No, but it's like, have all of you for some reason been drinking like fucking the Kool-Aid of Rattlesnake? Is that like where all of you got this from?
I'm just trolling half the time, bro. But yeah, he's literally the soundest guy, and he's insane as well. So fair play to him. He plays a dot crosshair though, so I'm not sure how that's gonna work out. But Okay.
Is it the tennis ball one and the fuzzy one, or is it like just a little dot?
He plays a purple little dot. Yeah.
Okay.
It's weird.
All right. Well,
no, he walks with a right click and shit like that.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
He does a lot of stuff weirdly. His A does something, but it's not go left. But I can't remember what it is. I want to say it's reload or something, but I'm not so sure.
Well, it was meant to. It was from Quake, right? That's where
whatever
was
A
saying
does.
something about Quake. Yeah, I don't.
But yeah, mezzi's a beast, man. At first I was like, because I was like in talks to be in that Cloud9 team as well, and when it fell through, I was like super butthurt because I felt like it was my chance to get in like a international team, like my big break and stuff. But then when he got it, I was like, fuck, man. But then after like a week, I was like, yeah, I can't be butthurt, man. Like, it's competition, right? Like, I just didn't get picked up, so it's okay. And insane happy for him, Thomas, the Endpoint guys who were playing sick. It's good not to be the only guy from the UK, you know? At first, I used to like that, but it got a bit too much when it was like, I played bad one map, yeah, fucking UKCS sucks, fuck smooya. I'm like, guys, there's fucking more players than me, you can't. So
you're not the only representative, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice, honestly.
Did you have anything you wanted to ask here, Prof or Striker?
I think we can move on.
All right.
From the UK, yeah, we can move on.
Yeah,
no, there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, like we really don't have that much time to talk about everything.
We have a lot of topics, so let's roll the recent news bumper, Lucas. All right, well, basically the entire show is just about news. So the recent news, or some of the more recent issues that have happened is, Striker, this one here going on with ENCE, Aerial stepping down. I didn't read the PR statement from ENCE in terms of what they said was happening here. So can you give everybody the TLDR?
Well, he's just gone on basically what a sick leave for, I think not even he knows for how long. There's just something medical is going on with him, so he just had to step down for a while. And that's about it.
But probably just another one of these cases of burnout, right? Like, is that what we're going to be looking at here?
It's not the language they used, but I guess it's possible. But like with these things, you never know. It could be anything. It could be like an actual like a medical issue. So it's hard to say, but that's the problem essentially.
Don't say that burnout is a medical issue, please.
Yeah, well,
But this is the thing, right? Like, people are now like, I don't know, and I don't want to speculate, and I don't want to question somebody's health. But our kind of entire purpose of the show is to discuss this shit. And I'm not going to say this year, right, has been tough on a lot of people. Obviously because of the circumstances of the global pandemic and all of that shit. But at some point we're going to have to really start like talking about this, because we had Ariel on the show, it feels like not that long ago, and we were discussing. Did we have Ariel on the show? No, maybe I did an interview with him. Maybe it was on broadcast. I think, we did an interview with him on broadcast, and we were talking to him about roles, and he was really candid with the fact that he's just was given all of X7's positions, and there's adjustment, and he's doing his best and working, and he was really, really sincere about it. And it actually kind of, not sucked, but you could feel like his emotion in that interview. And saying that about a Finn, that's pretty wild. And then they had the 6-man roster, they had X7 there. I thought maybe they could chop and change some roles around, and then instead of that they just sold him to Havu and then use him when they need him for the major, which I guess for X7 it's great he gets to play. But they must have known that these issues were going to come up and tried to sell us on the 6-man roster, and then have gone back on it, and now they're probably thinking, fuck, we probably should have kept that 6-man roster. But the thing is,
they don't even have a coach that they can use as a stand-in. So
oh my god, that is true.
Oh my god, Twister, no.
Twister got the 17-month ban or whatever, so that's why they pulled out of the Elite
those bans are so
right?
stupid, man.
Oh, we can get into that. We'll have more ESIC stuff coming up soon.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not too much to talk about here. Just that they have to go find a player to replace him for a while.
Yeah. And it's just kind of funny.
Listen,
it's just kind of funny that they announced the 6-man roster and they have 4 now. So that's
Smooth's going anywhere. Smooth's happy to go play right now. Get him in there.
But I also know from I spoke to Ariel one time, like what you said, Chad. I spoke to him in Malta. This was end of last year.
Yeah.
And he also just seemed down.
Yeah.
Like, I asked him how he's feeling about, like, this is when they were owning, they were like top 3 or something. They just had to run at the major and all this stuff. And it was like, I remember that interview very well that you're talking about, because there was one question and it was like, so how are you feeling about your new roles and stuff? And he literally just sat and stared at the camera for like 5 seconds, and you were like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, no Finnish person is meant to act like that. Like he's like a broken robot, you know. So it must be like I'm gonna guess that it's burnout. I don't know. Like I could just message him and find out, to be honest. But yeah, I'm gonna assume burnout. But I know that he's like an entry fragment. He has like very specific roles, but he doesn't ask for the good ones, you know. But I know he got shifted a lot, like when Sonny got brought in and everything. So maybe it's something to do with that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably what we put it down to. But hopefully, you know, these problems don't persist for too long because he's 27, right? Like, I know RPK showing us age isn't really a problem, but at the same time, you know, getting on in life, different priorities. Maybe he just needs a bit of a
RPK
break.
also played like top tier CS for literally a decade, right? So it's a bit different with someone who's just like new to the fame and new to like the routine, but RPK has been doing it since I was like fucking 5 years old or some shit. So
yeah. Okay, that's a fair way to look at it. RPK's my age, so I don't look at him as that old, but
you're so old as well.
Yeah, fucking ancient over here, man. It was 12 years ago that I was in the CGS in fucking Wuhan, China, where the coronavirus apparently started. So it's all come full circle. It's all come full circle. But let's keep it moving. We have the Cloud9 terminate the NA team contracts. Prof, another one that I didn't take time to read because I read the headline and went, wow, that sounds interesting. But
it's not really.
But I was like, wow, yeah, okay.
There's so much going on.
There is so much going on. It's just one of the things I chucked in. If this was a normal week, I guess we could like spend more time on it.
Yeah,
I have
the one thing that I'm going to say about it, right? Sorry.
What?
The one thing that I want to say about it, just before we kind of move on and just like chalk it up to like we don't really have time to talk through everything in detail. The one thing is interesting that obviously Cloud9 were kind of looking to sell this team, and nothing is really. What? Sorry?
As the 4 of them, or the 5 of them with the coach?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, obviously they have a new team, and they were looking for a new home for the old ones, right? So that was the situation. So you can kind of like question whether this was a little bit of an excuse to kind of get rid of as many of them as possible. So it's just possibly that played into that decision. But it's just like, obviously that's a conspiracy theory on my part, and it's just something that it could be entirely coincidental.
The worst part is because OC doesn't live in that house, so his contract wasn't terminated, and that is the only player you'd probably want to just keep so you can sell him to someone else. Like he is gonna be bought out by someone for some price for sure. Like he is the most valuable asset on that team, and his contract has not been terminated. But I agree. I don't think it is some like massive conspiracy, but it's just too many things align in the wrong way, definitely.
So what was do we know what the breach of the contract was?
It was,
well, essentially they had some like friends over at the house, and that they shouldn't have because of all the precautions that the team is taking because of Corona. And basically, like they got a warning the first time, and then it happened the second time, and then they got booted for it.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Okay.
Fuck them people.
So this is like something that's, you know, kind of serious at this point, right? Sure, but like there are a lot of people who don't really follow like protocol to around coronavirus to the T. So it's like,
but it's a bit
kind of
different
serious
when it's
and not serious to me. So that's why I kind of came up with that conspiracy theory. I don't really think there is one, to be honest, but it's something that could be happening.
Fair enough. Well, look, if there was a conspiracy theory, this would be the good one to really chalk it on up to. I guess. Nah, actually, I'm not going to get into that.
We did have a question from Sonic on Instagram. He asked smooya if he is your favorite ginger. That was the question.
Well, the guy from xCloud9 who was having house parties and got kicked. This irresponsible child. It's Thomas, man. Thomas.
There you go.
But I prefer to Thomas as a melted cheesehead sometimes because he really annoys me. But yeah, but Sonic second is a close second, but Thomas is my boy. So
a melted cheesehead.
When he's really pissing me off, that shuts him up. So.
Okay, a melted cheesehead.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Interesting one.
And then he calls me some stuff that I can't say on the stream. So yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's keep it moving. Let's move on to some more controversy. This is ESIC bans to do with 7 MDL Australian players, right?
Yep.
So this one here came out a bit earlier in the week, and the way that it was communicated, I think a lot of people just assumed that these kids were done immediately for match fixing. But if you read into this, they basically were betting on their own matches, and they were also having associates, which associates could be anything, guys. That
family
could be
members,
friends, it could be family, it could be anything betting in on their games as well. But the investigation's still going on from what I understood. And these kids, they copped a year-long ban, right, Striker?
Yeah. I mean, it's just the whole situation kind of sounded to me like they were betting on winning those matches and not losing. Otherwise, I assume they'd just be like straight up banned from match fixing, because that's essentially
wait, they were betting on themselves.
Yeah. They were betting on themselves. That's essentially what was said, but it wasn't said whether they were betting on winning those matches or losing, which is obviously a pretty big difference if you're talking about match fixing. So if they're betting on themselves for winning, it's not great. It's something that you shouldn't do at this point, but it's not as serious as betting on yourself losing and then losing.
But why shouldn't you do it? Like,
because Valve said no.
I know, but it's the same as like Floyd Mayweather bets on himself £5 million to beat Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. I agree that I don't really give a shit about people, betting on themselves.
Yeah,
winning,
like
if
I'm the one who like dictates the outcome, and I can bet on myself, I should be able to bet on myself, because if I throw, I'm losing money.
Yeah,
like I think you should be allowed to bet on yourself. Like,
I agree. I don't think it's a problem.
Imagine Floyd Mayweather bets himself and gets arrested because he wins. So, what are you doing?
We have to look at the overall of this right now. Obviously, this isn't a Valve ban. This is ESIC, and I think ESIC are probably following whatever guidelines that Valve have put out in the past. And we know that Valve, because they are from America, and they don't really understand that the rest of the world has had legalized online gambling for a very long period of time, have just said, nah, fuck it. There's none of it, right? Like you're in the same boat as me, Smooya. Australia is the same as the UK in terms of like all of our online betting shit. We have it's there for every sport. Like it makes people more interested in the sports that they're watching, and it's super easy to do. You get fucking sports bet on your phone. You whack $50 on the cricket or some shit.
Anything.
As if they're gonna touch gloves or anything. You know that shit.
Crazy, man.
But we're used to that shit, right? Whereas Valve, obviously, being American, I lived in Vegas. People would have to travel from all over the country to go to Vegas to bet on sporting stuff because they couldn't do it online. Obviously, that's changed a little bit, I believe, in the last couple of years.
Not so much, I don't think, though, because when I was in America with Chaos too, like, you also couldn't bet from, where the hell were we staying? Arizona and stuff like that. Okay. Like, there was weird, and I was at there, like, I loaded the app up. I'm like, mate, I can only bet on football or anything. It's like, I can't do it because of my IPs in Arizona. I'm like, this is so stupid. So I had to use a VPN to bet on like Man United to beat Chelsea, you know?
It's not something you want to say on record, by the way.
It's fine. He doesn't live there anymore. It's all good.
Back in the UK, mate.
Yeah, see, he's safe.
He's a UK citizen anyway, so probably counts.
There was one part of this, Prof, though, right, that said that there was, this is from the article that you guys have, however, due to significantly more complex nature of the offences and the fact that it is working with law enforcement, ESIC says they require more time to provide further updates on course of the investigation.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
I guess just that they don't want to give out all of the details about like which matches were bet on and stuff like that. So I think that will probably take a lot of time. I'm not sure if they bet on their matches or they bet on other matches within the league or anything like that. It's just all of those things just open doors for potential abuse.
That's also a ban, right, for players? Like, you're not allowed to bet at all. Like, I got told that a long time ago, and I've never even bet on a CS match, but yeah. I was just making sure.
Just a good reminder for everyone, just like, don't.
Like, it's like if you're in MDL Plus or something, right? Like, if you're in main, I think you're allowed.
No, it's any level. Like, here's the thing: if you're a Counter-Strike player and you eventually want to head down the route of stepping up the ladder, any division that you're in, don't fucking gamble on Counter-Strike. If you're a spectator and you watch the streams and maybe you play a little bit for fun, you play some matchmaking or face at pugs or ESIC or whatever bullshit, then go for it. Do it all you want. But if you ever want to become a professional Counter-Strike player, don't do it.
Essentially, anyone who's I don't know what the exact wording is, but even I shouldn't be betting on matches just because I have access to
insider
because I have access to like insider information behind the scenes stuff that other people don't know. It's not morally right for me to do it either. So even me or anybody connected to the tournaments, obviously, whoever like that who is connected to the actual scene and is not just a casual spectator is basically not shouldn't be betting on matches.
Eligible to bet, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, just small fact, like some of the, I think there was 7 guys, right? Yeah. 2 of them were from the team called Rooster in Australia. There's also Rooster 2, but that aside, Rooster had to play with their coach and just 4 players today in MDL. They played 4v5. One of the 4 is their coach, won the game 16-13.
On Dust 2 as well, I think.
Against Caught Off Guard.
Yep.
Yeah, they were caught off guard, as people in the comments are saying. Just a small.
Wait, they lose 4? Like, they had 5 and they had 4, and one was a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like the stuff that maybe happens in matchmaking, but like at a pro-ish level, like a semi-pro level, you shouldn't be losing 5v4.
Hey, you should check the other team for matchmaking, man. What the fuck is this? On Dust 2 as well? That's impossible, man. Holy shit.
They have Chelios, though. That guy probably dropped 40. So that's probably it. That's
is
probably how the game... He for a while there, he was looking good. He was looking like he could have been something. Chelios, I don't think so. He's from New Zealand. He was in Canada for a little while, like a year or two ago.
That's man.
And then he's come back, but he's never played with the big boys. I think he's always played with like teams like I think they were called like Mad, like Wizards and that kind of shit. So
always these like weird mixes of Australian players.
Yeah, I was trying to get. I was thinking he looked good from some of the games I watched, but he's still young. He's only 20. He might make a team eventually. We just have some breaking news coming out, posted by Mirror 2 minutes ago, actually, and it's olofmeister to step in for FaZe in Blast Premier as NiKo Niz moved to G2.
Ooh.
So Olof hasn't played in about 5 months, right? Since he stepped down earlier in the year. That's when BMAS came in. Then they obviously replaced BMAS with Kirby. So to have Olof come in with the roster, just for those of you playing at home, listening on the Spotifys of the world, it's going to be Rain, coldzera, Brokey, Kirby, and Olof. That is such a strange mix of players. Like, what the fuck is going on here? It has to be coldzera to call. We were talking about this a little bit before the show, right, Striker?
Yeah,
it would be Olof, right?
Olof just call?
I don't see how that's...
He called before.
Did he?
Yeah, at one point. Yeah, he called for like 3 months at one point.
In FaZe, you mean?
Give us some inside gossip.
Seriously?
Yeah.
This was reported and shit, man.
Was it?
Back. Yeah, of course.
No.
I'm not
so sure.
I mean,
like, I've heard that he was calling for like 2 or 3 months at one point, 100%.
I'm Googling right now.
We can hear.
I mean, in any case, like after not being in the team for 5 months and the team's changed quite a bit, I'd be surprised if he was calling. To be honest, like it has to be coldzera, unless Brokey has some abilities that I don't know about. I feel like it has to be coldzera.
Like the combination of these players, I feel like no one is gonna talk. Literally, the team speak is just gonna be quiet. Rain, coldzera maybe. But
no,
like
Cold talks a lot. I think.
Kirby,
Brokey, see anything?
Rain,
oh, no.
Olof. I feel like the team speak is just gonna be nothing.
I'm gonna guess Olof. That's my guess. Well, that's my educated guess from my inside information, but it's apparently something
you just manufactured. I think
inside misinformation.
Like I mean, genuinely, seriously, I swear he IGL'd at one point for like at least 3 months, like 3 or 4 events. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I don't remember that at all. But
I mean, it's FaZe. It's entirely likely that it happened and nobody knows about it. But it's like I haven't heard anything about.
They were switching IGL every event, man. I swear it was when Carrigan first left. I can't remember who they got to replace him.
When Carrigan was still in the team, that was the FaZe Major in 2018, where I was like, our analyst desk was just behind where the players were playing, and like I could just stand behind the wall because it was just a backdrop, and I could hear Carrigan not calling shit, and I could hear NiKo calling, and that's when during that major I was like, I'm pretty sure NiKo was calling from the.
That then Carrigan got removed, right? Like
not long
like
after
2 months later, something like that.
But having Olof come back, like the roles for that team, like that opens up space for Kirby now to like step into some of like NiKo's more aggressive positions on the T side. Like coldzera already was switching around a couple of anchor positions. Olof coming in as well. Like they could definitely coldzera and Olof is the more passive. I know that Brokey's not hyper aggressive, but he can join the entry pack as the AWPer with Rain, Brokey, Kirby. That kind of works. Like that's your mid control on Mirage sorted, for example. So they should be able to. They have good players, right? Obviously,
it's a capable 5. It's not. Yeah, it's just
not world beaters, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it clicks. Maybe it's good. Maybe with NiKo out there, extra space in the team, they can.
I think it's better for the team. Like, of course, NiKo was like the only reason they were doing like good, right? But I feel like if you bring Olof in, he'll play B Ups Mirage, he'll play B Inferno, like he'll play all the shit positions. And they literally brought Kirby in, and he played every position he's played on FaZe he's never played before. So if you get him comfortable, that guy can bang, dude. Like with the world's best, he was MVP of a major. Like I don't care if you don't play for 1 year, you're still an MVP of a major. You're still insane. Same as Olof, So I feel like the overall team could be better. Like and the players will play a lot better also. I think.
Maybe there'll be a new mood to it, having Olof come back. I know that everyone always talks about him being such a good teammate, and see how they go with that. It's going to be a tough task for Yanko, so we'll see if he's able to pull that one together. But we have one more piece of recent news, and this one here is Flashpoint announcing 3 teams: OG, Big, and fnatic. Ooh. So those are the extra names. Lucas, I'm going to send you a link. Bring this up on screen for everybody, just so that everyone can see the teams. I'll read through all the team names here before we get into a bit of a discussion about those other 3. Gen.G, obviously, they are yet to finalize
missing.
their roster. Apparently, Liazz is rumored to be going there. FaZe, let's not talk about them at the moment. Mad Lions, obviously, since the addition of HooXi and refrezh, I think they could definitely be on the up and up. Virtus Pro looking fantastic, just off their CIS victory.
Won, right?
Yeah, they had it was a pretty shit final, if I'm going to be honest, because we had the chance for it to either be FaZe or Spirit versus either VP or NAVI in the final, and I think both Spirit and FaZe kind of shot the bed a little bit. No disrespect to Namiga, they played well, they've been boot camping, they were working hard, but those other two teams losing 2-0. Anyway, that's later in the show. Contact, obviously, with Rigon and Spinx in there. We've got MIBR with their new roster. We're going to get to that discussion later. NV, Cloud9, and Dignitas. So let's just focus on these three because they are not founding teams. And for those people who don't understand what that means is the teams like Gen.G, the Dignitas, Cloud9, those guys are all they've all bought into the Flashpoint project, whereas these other three have all been invited, and two of which are currently within the top 10 in the world. That's Big and OG. Fnatic just on the outside. They're really big names for this tournament to be getting, right, Prof?
Yeah, I mean, this is a big win for them. I'm not sure how this even happened on with all the deals they have with ESL and stuff like that. I mean, Big doesn't have that was one of the teams we speculated that could go into Flashpoint, but OG and Fnatic are Louvre teams from what I remember. So that was a thing that we didn't really expect happening. But yeah, looking at it, they got two top 10 teams now in Big and OG and Fnatic on the edge, right? So I think it's great. It's
OG aren't a Louvre team, but they are
involved. Oh, okay, then that makes sense. I
think they were invited to Pro League the last couple seasons, which maybe is why we had the thought that they could be. But it's a bit. I think there's 13 Louvre agreement teams or something like that.
Well, probably 12 now.
That's true. 100 Thieves dead. Yep, that's a good point.
Rest in peace.
Oh well, it was a good brand.
Good. And with the qualifier teams, FaZe and Virtus Pro, a lot of pretty good exciting teams on the up and up. Virtus Pro currently ranked 28, but they're going to be top 20 probably.
Yeah.
In a couple of hours.
They're going to jump for sure. Yeah.
Maybe 15. They trashed NAVI, right?
Twice.
Yeah. Then they'll be. Yeah,
they're on a 16 map win, 16 series win streak currently, so that's pretty nice.
Sick.
I think what's really exciting about this event is the fact that, look, there's obviously no Astralis here, right? There's no NAVI here. We're missing a couple of massive names, but we have a lot of really new rosters to get to take a look at and see if they're going to work. Because you get an impression straight away. If the Cloud9 comes in here and shits the bed against an MIBR who's had 1 week. I know all these teams would have only had 1 week worth of practice, but you're going to be able to see the potential of these teams very, very quickly. I think the new additions over there at Dignitas. Obviously, we have Heap, someone who people aren't really familiar with.
Oh, they're pretty good, man. These Dignitas guys. I played them in practice, and that was they fucking wrecked us. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? I've never heard of Heap. He had 45 kills against us, and I was like, I'm excited to play against this guy. And then the sad thing happened. But yeah, I wouldn't sleep on Dignitas. They have some fucking strong players now, man. No joke.
Sure. And they got Halvor taking that coaching role now.
What I was saying on Twitter, and then I'm going to repeat it here, is that I kind of like these three teams just exactly because of what you were saying. There's no Astralis, there's no Vitality, no massive favorite that just comes in and is expected to wreck everybody. These are three teams that are probably not probably, pretty convincingly the best at the tournament, but none of them are a confirmed ultimate favorite, you know? Yeah. So it's just I like that this is the trio of teams that Flashpoint has added, because they could easily lose to almost anybody else from that list. So I feel like it's going to make the tournament pretty interesting.
I think it's also good that compared to the first season where you only had Flashpoint teams and then some qualifier teams, you actually see the best of Flashpoint facing off against these teams that we know how good they are, because otherwise you can't really compare. You saw MIBR playing against Mad Lions, but you didn't really see those teams playing against other teams. Maybe you did see MIBR in the past, but you kind of didn't know what you were looking at. But now you have you have Big, and that's a really good bar to set how good someone is. If you beat Big, you know where they are, right?
Yeah, they're top in EU at least.
Yeah.
I think that a really cool thing that might come from this, and obviously, if you are Flashpoint have their founder teams, and the only one we're missing here is FPX, right? So they're apparently rumored to be trying to pick up Godsent, which would be a good roster to have in this mix. It would be another team that you'd chuck right in the middle of the pack. But I think a really cool thing that might come out of all of this is exactly that storyline that you were just kind of posing there, Prof. Like, as we get into future events, let's say one of these Flashpoint teams who does really well in their own tournament, let's just say Cloud9, for example, they come through and they win this season of Flashpoint. Well, then when they eventually get like a qualification to a DreamHack or a Blast or a ESL event and they go there, it's like, okay, now we get to see these guys up against, the Astralises or the NAVIs. And you get, when you're going into those events, see how contrasting it all is. Whereas at the moment with the top events, and we can kind of start segueing into the next topic now with all the tournaments, is we're having, we just had the DreamHack Open Fall that goes straight into Blast, that goes straight into IEM Beijing with basically all of the exact same teams, right? And it's just back to back to back to back. And you're not getting a new mix. So for people at home, nobody gives a fuck about watching Vitality versus NiP anymore because we've seen it 264 times, right? You've heard me say this on the show before. But that's the thing. Whereas at least this is going, like, these aren't world-beating teams. Like, let's be honest. Let's not fucking beat around the bush here. Like, these aren't necessarily world-beating teams, but there's excitement because it's players that people like. Like, HooXi has a massive fan base. ESIC, he was just in Astralis. How's he going to go on Cloud9? Dignitas, Forest and Freiburg, the legends of the game. Envy, you go look at, the Brits are going to be loving some Thomas, right? But it's going to be really interesting to see. And then VP, like, off of their high at the moment, they get to now see how far they can push it against better ranked teams. There's exciting stuff to sink your teeth into here from a storyline perspective. Yeah. And I think that's what's cool. It's going to be refreshing.
Yeah. It's just the only problem is that, like, literally every one of those founding teams changed lineups like in the last month. So, like, that's the only kind of like a big question mark. Of course, it also makes the tournament interesting because, like, every team has something new about them. But at the same time, like, as a whole, the tournament kind of looks like a little bit similar to the first season, which was kind of a clusterfuck, but for similar reasons, obviously. Because there were some that I don't remember exactly what the changes were at the time, but like because of the teams, switching back and forth and stuff like that, it was just like a very chaotic tournament. And I feel like this is going to be better than that for sure. I don't expect that it's going to be as chaotic as the first season was, but it's still like so up in the air, and we don't really have any idea what's going to happen, which also makes things pretty exciting.
But I think, like, as well, when you consider just the matches, which is kind of what we're focusing on here, they're going to, I assume, be online from the start. I'd say with COVID getting worse in Europe, for those people who might be listening in from other parts of the world, not too familiar, most places in Europe now, shit's starting to get worse. So,
breaking records, more or less.
So we're having not now on that. I'm not a COVID fucking expert and all that shit, but apparently what I've been told is we're testing more. So with more tests comes more results, obviously. But anyway, we don't need to get into the minutiae of COVID. We just need
Let's not do that. No.
But there's some of the I like some of the cool things that Flashpoint were doing on their show last time. Like, I think maybe with a little bit better execution on some things, but I liked, like, they were doing the end of day just kind of conversational stuff around the matches that had happened, for example. I think that's really cool because if you're a viewer and you just want to tune in for a recap show, you can't watch necessarily 3 best of 3s in a day because you have a fucking life and a job and a family and all this bullshit you have to do. So you tune into the recap show, you got some people who have, this is like kind of what we're doing now, but it'll be at the end of the day. And I thought that was really neat that they were doing that. Obviously, they had their talent on site for a lot of it as well, which makes things better from a storytelling perspective. So I'm curious to see what they do this time around because Monty, for example, is somebody.
Did you read the interview?
I read parts of it. I haven't finished it yet. It was saying about the features, right?
They were traveling around Europe and talking to some players. I think Cloud9 is one of them. From what he was talking about, it's just like they're actually doing features with players not over webcams and then from their, but actually from their homes and doing like a proper content around it. So I think that's going to make things interesting as well, just because we haven't really had that for fucking 7 months now.
Yeah. Well, I guess the problem is, and this goes for everybody right now, is how do you take everybody away from the fact that we're locked down and everything's shit and everybody knows it's shit, and then just make it something interesting? Because everyone's still, at least in my mind, stuck in the mindset that we're in COVID and that this is just kind of life now. So we need to come up with new ways to work around that. But before we dig in too much into that shit, let's keep it moving. Let's move into the tournaments because a bunch of them were happening. IEM, New York, and
the DreamHack.
Yes. So let's reflect back a little bit because it's been a long 3 weeks for the IEM New York.
FURIA beating 100 Thieves in the final of the New York NA thing, and they qualified for the global challenge with that.
Yes.
So that's like a kind of a cool thing. But other than that, it was kind of pretty neat from them overall, like pretty tight. And that was last week, and then we had this week VP beating Nemiga and NAVI twice to win the fucking CIS part. That's both the RMR events and the European RMR, which was just last night. Heroic beating Vitality. So Vitality's 4th, 2nd place in like 2 or 3 months.
So how much of the CIS did you guys catch? So I'm going to say probably most of you were watching. Yeah. So I caught basically every game.
I watched quite a bit of Virtus Pro, to be honest. Like at least the last 3 series or something.
Yeah. So for the thing is, VP went undefeated in groups, and so did Spirit. VP were looking like, for those people not too familiar, VP have now played, I think it is off the top of my head, 45 maps with Yakinda and Buster. Obviously Buster stepped down for a little while. Yakinda came in when Adram was still there. Now this version of the roster is great. And actually last time, smooya, you were on the show, that's when we were talking about Yakinda. I think we brought him up for the first time. Now VP in this event, now NAVI was the biggest king of the castle. That's the way we painted the picture for the CIS region. Whoever could challenge or take NAVI down, that was good. And then the outsider teams we posted were VP, Spirit, FaZe, and Gambit. And all of those teams were the ones we were keeping our eyes on, right? And then obviously VP have come on in here and they've played some fucking sick Counter-Strike. They have some definite gaps and mistakes, but this version, and I asked Dustin this, and I think I asked Kick at this as well. I said, do you guys think this is a better version of the team than the one that came 2nd place in the major? And I think both of them said yes. What kind of potential do you see for this team, smooya?
Top 5?
Top 5?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, they have Yakinda. I mean, they're all insane individually, right? Thing that I've noticed with Yakinda is I've never met someone with like such the word, man. Like I guess the way to describe it is like just like a happy outlook on life. So for example, if he's playing a long best of 5 or a long best of 3 in a day, he's the same from start to finish. He'll always be like cracking jokes, being like a cute little kid, you know, because that's what he is. It's just a little kid that plays a lot of CS, and to have that in a team is so important because I can imagine it would get frustrating being where you was before in that team. You know, top 2 in the world, 2nd of the major, and then just constantly bad result. And now you just have this little kid that just loves playing CS. He has at one point he had 156 hours past 2 weeks, and none were idle. Think about that. He would play 10 hours of prac a day, then play 7 FPL games and do 2 hours of deathmatch every day. And then he would come TeamSpeak next day, yo guys, let's go again. I'm like, what the fuck? Like if I did that one day, I need like a week break, you know? So I feel like having someone like that is really important, and he's just always looking to improve. He has good connections with everyone, so yeah, he's OP. I said this last time though. I said he's literally an insane individual. Yeah. Now he's carrying. So
well, it's him and Jame. I think were the 2 highest rated players throughout that event for VP.
Yeah.
Now, for those who missed the NAVI stuff that went on down, obviously Perfecto got COVID. Which they announced that publicly, and there was even a bit of drama of a match being rescheduled. Now
we're getting drama about everything, boys.
Everyone just wants to fight, man. It's so weird.
I don't know what it is. Like, okay, so let's kind of use a little bit of brain power for a second.
As hard as it may seem,
it might be crazy to people. It might be absolutely insane. But if your immediate response is, "Oh, this is favoritism," right? If that's your immediate response because a team has had a game postponed because somebody has caught the literal disease that the entire world is now shut down because of, then you probably need to go look in the fucking mirror. Because if you think that favoritism is being used for NAVI in the region, probably fine. You could probably get away with that argument. But when the guy has just been told he has COVID, which is, I don't know, guys.
2 hours before as well, by the way. Like, he got the result back like 2 hours before the game.
COVID is killing people, right? Like, imagine getting that. So like, crazy, I have the thing that the world is shut down over. Probably a little bit emotionally distraught. And probably circumstances outside the realms of a normal issue. I don't know if you guys read the rule books, but in all of them, there's a fucking asterisk in most of the rule books that says the tournament organizer can change any of the rules at any fucking point. That's kind of what they put into these things in case of situations like this, because you need some nuance in circumstances. So FaZe fucking decided it was a great idea to fucking point guns and then blame ESL for favoritism and say this is bullshit. And why the fuck did VP get forfeit a map I can tell you why VP got forfeited a map, because for some reason Counter-Strike in scheduling is dog shit, and there was a Flashpoint qualifier, I think it was 3 hours before, and then they were playing, I think it was Endpoint, and the first 2 maps were like super close or overtime, and then I think the last map was like Dust or whatever, and they eventually won there, but they joined late. And as far as scheduling goes, here's another thing for all of y'all out there who probably don't understand. When we're doing broadcasts of the scale of like an IEM New York, they're fucking television deals and stuff. So to start a game late isn't just to do with now the players and where they and that kind of shit. It's to do with the money that's being spent from outside influencers. So we need to be on time because people have paid for television slots and this and that and all that kind of shit. And I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Flashpoint qualifier got announced like 2 days before it happened. Can anyone correct me on that?
Yeah, something like that.
Not so long, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like three at most 4 days, I think it was.
So the IEM was in place for a long time, right?
Yeah, and it's an RMR event, so they obviously knew. It's good that they still qualify. Like, I'm glad that VP are in Flashpoint. I think that's fantastic. But like, the drama that happened there is like, what's going on?
People want the drama, man.
You summed it up pretty well, though.
Just be a little bit more like a kinder. Have a more of a happy outlook on life.
Yeah, literally, just be a kid that just wants to play games, man. Instead of saying, "Yeah, I saw Perfecto in retakes 2 hours after." Fuck this guy. He was able to play.
That was the best thing.
I saw him. He was throwing flashbangs. It's like, mate, relax, man.
Even people in our chat, even people in the chat right now, are saying that it's not okay that VP had a map taken off of them. Because NAVI wasn't forfeit, or NAVI didn't have to play with like they're not even comparable.
Not the same situation. No,
it's like once we get into this next one, because the next one we're going to be looking at Prof and putting Prof. We're going to get Prof to explain his tweet. We want to give him an opportunity to do so. So this is another one which is like comparing apples and oranges. Here is Prof comparing Zona to Steel.
Assumptions.
Now, I know your tweet wasn't actually saying
Wait, what?
that. Now,
Let me read this.
Now, this is the thing. Prof's tweet wasn't actually saying
it was
just what people took.
Very badly written.
Look, I know what he meant.
I'll just say, saying things like this, just even opening this topic on Twitter is so useless that it will take me like 10 tweets to set up the example and what I'm trying to say. That I was like, fuck, I'll just make it controversial.
Yeah,
and people really did. It really was controversial
because that was like that.
People
was
didn't really like it.
You, man.
I found it funny that like people literally like tweeting at me, worst take ever. The guy that said he was gonna unfollow me but didn't unfollow me anyway. That was super funny as well. Well, let's just explain the idea.
Oh fuck!
People are down. I mean, some people are down for people to be rehabilitated after cheating or doing whatever the fuck. And that is essentially what Steel did do. Like, he was, after he got the ban, he was streaming, doing YouTube content, making educational videos and stuff like that. I think, like, from my perspective, that was great. Then you have Zoner. Of course, his cheating is not the same. I mean, he was cheating. He was match fixing. So different case to start off, but he was banned. Has to like wait out the ban before he can go back to doing anything on the pro level. So that's the same thing that happened to Steel, right? At the time though, Steel didn't know how long the ban was. Details, again, different details. But in this case, Zoner is still doing some sort of like CS education, right? He is going to teach people, pass on his knowledge, be useful in some regard. Maybe he's going to get some salary, but working in a CS school in Russia is certainly not going to be like a super sick salary. I'm pretty sure that is the case. I'm pretty sure that if you're an American popular CS player doing YouTube videos, you're probably going to earn more than a guy doing a Russian CS school. So I'm not saying that he shouldn't be earning money, but there is some idea that you can get behind that it maybe isn't that bad. But you have to take into account that the way FaZe announced it was the worst.
Horrible.
Was the worst. It was literally the worst. So that only just fired up people additionally. I think if you're down for people to be rehabilitated and get back and like pay for their dues, something like this kind of makes sense, but in a way that is more respectful and just owns up to what you did, and not announce him as the guy that brought teams to majors when no one knows him for that. Everyone knows him for this other thing that he's been a meme for the last like 3 weeks or something. So, I don't know.
It's just important to know that obviously ESIC never really intended for people to just lose their jobs in esports completely. They even allow the coaches to continue working behind the scenes.
I'll just
with
add
the
one
teams
more
they're
thing.
part of. Yeah,
I'll just add one more thing. Like, is that punishment, Zoner going from a team's coach to working in some CS school for FORCE, so not even the same team org, for a different org that hired them to do some like small project for them? Is that not a worse punishment than what Hunden and Twista got? Like, they're literally working with the same players they worked for. Hunden is an example. Literally with the same players he abused the bug with.
Okay,
so is that not the worst thing?
But okay, so I guess here once again we need to use a little bit of nuance in this situation. This guy used it for 424 rounds.
Fair, yeah.
So 424 rounds, right, shows that your moral compass is broken, right? That's what it says to me. And then to say, we're going to have somebody whose moral compass is broken now educating the youth of tomorrow. Sorry, what? That right there is the problem. If it was, he's going to work with our B team,
the people would still have a big problem with it.
Yeah, regardless of what he does, he's absolutely fucked, right?
I think the problem I think is mainly why Zoner is getting that much more attention than like a Twist and a Hunden is because he's like obviously he's the worst case, but he's in the same category as like a Regin, as like a Twista, as like a Hunden. They clearly used it, multiple times. They even were put like in a fairly similar bracket. I think Zoner was like in the highest one, and then the other three were like in the one below. I don't remember exactly the times, but obviously it's pretty much the same category. It's just different punishments, So it's just he's being crucified, even though like there are people who are in a similar position as him. So that I feel like is kind of a problem to me. That people are kind of okay with Twista retaining an analyst job at ENCE and Hunden being able to continue coaching over at Heroic and stuff like that.
There was obviously more outrage about this situation, but Janko, for example, was one of the people who was speaking out when the Hundens and the Twisters of the world were keeping.
He was consistent about his opinion. Like, I respect that completely. I mean, in my opinion as well, like, fuck Zoner. I don't want him near CS anymore. That is my opinion. But if you want
saying fuck Twister as well,
I mean, it's the same shit. Like, he did. The funniest thing is, like, Twista cheated Hunden out of minor qualifier. That's the funniest thing ever. And then Hunden cheated other people's out. Like, what can you do?
Basically, everyone's fucking cheating. Ban them all. Fucking good riddance. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm surprised we haven't heard more from Valve, to be honest, yet. But saying that, it's Valve, so of course we haven't heard more.
Maybe they're just waiting for the final report and then making a case for themselves, because I feel like they're just going to wait for everything. What? Sorry?
Isn't it meant to come out in October?
Like very close, but in a few days probably. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll find out.
There'll be so many more coaches as well that get caught, man.
No. It shouldn't be, just because they basically already announced all the cases that happened for longer than one round, I think, or for at least one round. So that all of those are done as far as I understand. All the rounds that got flagged, or all the people that got flagged for more than one round, are already checked. But it's just all the cases that are smaller than one round, like, and probably checking those like little, that it happened, but they got out of it within 5 seconds, and they're just checking that they didn't, abuse it in some way. I think that's basically what it comes down to at this point. So we shouldn't really hear a big amount of coaches getting banned again. It's just, it should maybe be a couple of names that were caught doing it like within, like a smaller period of time.
I have one question though. Do you guys think the players should get punished in any way?
No.
We discussed this already, and the reason that unless you have any physical, tangible proof, right, there's no way to actually know, right? Like, if you were to make a punishment for these players based off of, they must have known. Like, for example, if you're playing in this is not to be banned or anything, but let's say we're playing in an arena and you heard the crowd or whatever, just as an example, and then you rotated because of whatever you heard from the crowd or what. Like,
That happens as well.
The player could, but the player could say, "No, I didn't hear anything."
Yeah,
right. Like, and there's no way to prove that he did or didn't hear anything. So it's the same with this kind of situation. And the only one where we feel that there might be any wiggle room is the one where apparently Heroic have the TeamSpeak recordings, right? And that would be the only one where, you know, unless we had heard the TeamSpeak recordings and we know what was said on TeamSpeak, even if the coach in game said, "Oh, I think that they're going B, stack B," and they stacked B, and that coach said that, there's no way to know if the players were complicit to, you know, his knowledge. So and it's very difficult for us to prove that unless someone comes out and goes, "Yeah, we knew." Like,
Would you not think it's like it says something with that they're not willing to release the TeamSpeak recordings and they're not willing to do this and that, and none of the players have said. Like, no players come out and said, "I had no fucking clue." Like, yeah, this is bullshit. But it's kind of like, fucking hell, yeah, it was him. It was him. Fuck, honestly, boys. Yeah, it's all good. The next event, like...
We were talking about this before, yeah.
I didn't see it, but I know it is really hard, but it's also like, I feel like so many fucking people have dodged a bullet, like, it's insane. Because if
it's
you
entirely possible.
I'm sure some
just can't know.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Like, we can't separate the people who didn't know from those who did know. So it's just like it's impossible to tell.
But if you have the team free spot, like the TeamSpeak recordings, the only way to shut everyone up and silence everyone is say, "Hey, here you go, look, we didn't cheat." But you listen to it, Hunter's like, "Yeah, guys, go B." Everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm going B, I'm going B." But
that's the thing, right?
It's so hard to say, though.
And also, if the players, like, let's just keep using Heroic as an example, if you come out and say anything at all, and then in the future evidence is released that leads to even looking, not necessarily making you guilty, but just making you look, then people are going to come back and they're going to grab that.
Pitchforks are out.
Exactly. So you're kind of doomed if you do, doomed if you don't. You might have even been told from the organization not to say anything on the topic, right? So there's a lot of things there that could be in play. Hopefully, everybody's moral compass is in a place where we can trust, but obviously we can't because we got in this situation in the first place. But let's keep this rolling because we're 10 past 4. We got a shitload of topics still to fucking whack on in here, boys. NAVI, for those, we'll quickly summarize. They obviously didn't win. They lost to VP twice, so they're 4-0 in maps against the new VP roster. Blade even said in an interview with us on air that this is an event they probably should have skipped. So if that puts the context of how important they thought that RMR event was for you, that probably should. Next week you'll see how well they do in Blast. So we can move forward now to Heroic, the team we were just talking about. So they actually had to play a game today at 11:30 versus Apeks with jkaem, who's recently just gone home, and yeah, they lost it. So
yeah, they lost
because they were playing past midnight last night, right?
They literally slept for 8 hours and then went into that game. I think pretty much.
That's just ridiculous. So that final yesterday, I hope you guys all caught it because it was against Vitality. It was the rematch of ESO1 Cologne just a couple of months ago, and this one wasn't as clean. Heroic last time around swept in 3-0. This time it was a fucking brawl of a game. Overpass was overtime, Nuke was double OT, Inferno was double digits, Vertigo was double digits, and then eventually on Mirage, fucking Cadian just went beast mode. That was wild. Like, what do you make of Cadian here, Smooya? Because he's been around the block for a while.
I feel like he's finally starting to play. He has like this weird style where some rounds he plays every round by the book, he plays everything perfect, and the next round he looks like an absolute podbot, you know? But because he has like some of the fastest reactions I've ever seen, if you watch that game back, he wasn't playing the best CS, he just couldn't fucking miss. Like, if you asked him to miss, he would have collided someone, you know? Yeah, he just had a fucking insane individual performance, and it happens when you're as good as Cadian, and when you play like a bit crazy, you know? And after 4 maps, no one's playing proper CS. After these 4 maps, your brain's fucking gone, dude. So it's survival of the fittest. Whoever can hit the shot first is going to win the event, basically, and Cadian just popped the fuck off, so yeah.
When you watch these guys play, Prof, do you think that like Heroic are playing off meta at the moment, like with their approach to some of these situations, or do you think that they're just playing confident CS?
I don't know. I think they have like cool ideas. I don't think it's like off meta. I think everyone now, the meta isn't like that well defined at the moment. I feel like everyone's doing everything.
Yeah.
And they're ballsy enough to like do something instead of playing default. So I think that's what works when you have confident people, right? That is going to be the winning formula. Not that you always have to do it, but in times like this, when it is kind of random, like the online era is making things a bit more random, and then you play a best of 5 and 1,000 hours of gaming and stuff like that. Yeah. Then if you do like a 2 people underpass push together on the CT side, that's probably better than to play like 1-1-1-1-1 and just like hold angles. That's going to lose you the round for sure. So they pulled off some of those, like even on Mirage, they had like a 5-man CT mid push out in mid round, just like kill 2 guys easy, and then finished off the round. So I don't know. I think they are. Also think Vitality kind of just ran out of ideas. I think they do that on some maps. They just like, well, we're doing default mid, everyone dies. Okay, let's do default mid again, everyone dies. Yeah, this isn't working. And then they actually pull out something. They pull out some like A strat, but they just ran out of ideas. And then Cadian, I just looked at the stats again. 31-5.
Mental.
Yeah, 28-3 at one point as well. Fucking
mental. Now, Striker, you're our resident expert on this. I got 2-part question here. One, Heroic are likely to take the number 1 spot over Astralis today?
That would be my guess, yeah.
Yeah, because right now the points difference is Astralis 961 and 921.
Yeah, unless Heroic are losing something from before, like something big, which I'd have to look into it, but I just don't know. Unless they're losing something big from some, whatever it is 2 months ago, then they should definitely be number 1 at this point.
Okay, my next question for you, because you are normally involved in this, and I don't know what's going to happen this year regarding the HLTV top 20, because it's mainly been online. I assume you still do it. But Stown, is he looking like a shoe-in? Because he's been having some big boy performances recently. I remember the Astralis game just the other day. I think he dropped like, within regulation, it was like 30 on Nuke or something, and then they went to OT, I'm pretty sure.
How's he looking, a solid player, man.
Striker?
Yeah, I didn't know that the question already ended. I mean, he's definitely in the conversation, I think. I feel like, let me actually check, because I'm looking at the list of players this year, like the ratings, just to have a reasonable idea of how many players could be in the conversation. But he's definitely somewhere in there.
Just having a look right now. So his stat lines, right? New York was pretty bad for them. But they kicked off the second half of the year with that DreamHack Open final against Big that they lost. Fucking ads. But he didn't have great rating there. But then moving into like Cologne, he had a great rating. I guess Pro League was okay. This event here, DreamHack Open 4, was fucking sick. Like that kid is looking like, well, I guess NiKo as well. Like, what am I even talking about? That entire Heroic team.
SS as well.
they're fucking nuts. They just all play their situations so confidently. It never looks like they doubt themselves. And I don't know if that, like, once we get to land, we're going to have to see what type of a team they are. But these kids, to me, it just looks like they're all on the same wavelength. Like, they all understand the type of Counter-Strike they want to play. And I think from a strategical standpoint, they have a lot of moves. Like they from the teams that I watched, they probably have the most creativity as well. Like they take so many risks in mid rounds. They're winning so many. They won a 2v5 last night, Cadian and NiKo, I'm pretty sure. Like on Overpass on that first map, they've just pulled this 2v5 well. It's wild.
Yeah, Nuke as well. They won that 2v4 or something at the end of the game. I don't know if it forced overtime or won them the game or something like that. But yeah, they win a lot of shit.
Essentially, as somebody who's essentially a 2-time MVP or like somewhere close to it, I imagine, for the 2 wins, because he was their best player in Cologne as well.
Yeah,
and so he's definitely going to be in the conversation for MVP of the tournament. And like as a 2-time MVP who's actually been quite consistent this year, that seems to me like a top 20 player for sure.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's good because he definitely looks like one, and I think doing secondary AWPing as well, very very versatile player, dude. That Tessa spray down, is there a better spray down than that? Is that the best spray down ever? Like, that's Christ. Fucking gnarly. I don't know if people have seen this. Can we play it?
I think we can.
All right, I'm going to find it for Lucas.
But that was mind-blowing.
Let me see if I can grab it.
Unbelievable, man.
The dirtiest thing about it is that he continues to spray after the 3 guys. Like, he literally could just stop spraying, and most people would, but he's like, no. I can spray down this guy.
Most people want to stop spraying, they wouldn't have killed the first 2. They would have run out of bullets.
I've just linked it to you, Lucas. If you can play this, we're not going to be able to see it at the same time. I don't have the preview up, but just tell us,
guys.
I have it in my head. So
tell us when it's playing, Lucas, just so we can show the viewers at home. And if you haven't seen it and you're listening on audio, head over to Reddit. I think the thread's called Tassa's Insane Spray Down. Okay, so how long is this clip? Okay, so he's rotating over. He's rotating over from B. He's over there at short. He's coming through kitchen.
It's the kill on Zymo, man, that's the most impressive. I mean, of course, the last kill's insane, but the fact he controls it on the third guy is fucking so nuts.
I just like you're
like
right.
The Apeks one
committing...
was slightly, I think slightly lucky because it's just like shifted over, but he was just good as fuck though.
The Zyru one is so sick, man.
But this probably here opens up a talking point, right? And I don't know how much of the Counter-Strike everybody at home got to watch, but I remember tweeting within like the first couple of days of DreamHack Open, like how many sick plays that we had seen. And this is a discussion we were having, Prof, before the show, was just like looking at the highlights of DreamHack Open. Most of it is clips. Like what do you think was the reason we had so many highlight plays? Do you think teams are being scrimmier, Prof?
I don't know. I did tweet even like I think like 3-4 days into the event that we had like 13 aces in the event.
Oh, I saw that tweet actually.
It was like we had more since then, of course. So I'm not sure. Maybe it is the screaminess of things, but it's also like you have 5 people rushing ramp and then Misuta aces you literally like 5 USB headshots.
Yeah.
Like that should not happen most of the time. Like how is that happening? Like what? There's nothing. I mean, that is scrimmy, but it's just like a normal pistol round. Nothing special about it. You just rush ramp, right? You don't expect one guy to kill all of you. Just like nothing.
31 aces, by the way.
Yeah.
30
in like I don't know how many maps. It's like every second map or some shit.
There were 4 in the grand final alone.
4 in the grand final.
Yep.
Lol.
What the fuck?
NiKo, Tessa's paid in Apeks.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know if
it's pretty sick.
Yeah, there was a pistol ace from Tessa's apparently as well.
Dude,
yeah, that was the
whoever's making
Glock
the after movie of that event.
Oh, they have a fucking field day.
That is sick. That, like, honestly, I was so jealous, man, because we just did Pro League like 5 weeks straight, and no offense to Europe, but the better Counter-Strike was actually watching FURIA just run at everybody, like, because it was more entertaining. Like, it was so much, and I know this sounds ridiculous because I'm normally like a Counter-Strike purist and I'm talking about like all the nice strategies and the percentage plays and the shit, but watching FURIA just have some fucking balls and get stuck in, and then I'm watching DreamHack Open fall every day after work, and I'm like, man, like, this is all happening now, and I'm fucking now watching, I don't know, K23 versus Cyber Legacy or something. And
they're all just,
fuck, man.
And it's the CIS style where they just chill. They take long and then chill for 50 seconds.
Yeah, that's the only CIS team. You missed Vegas Squadron, man. Them boys back in the day were fucking ruthless with it.
I mean, that is kind of the spirit of Vegas Squadron is in spirit now, to a degree, with Chopper.
They're still a bit crazy? Okay.
They have a bit of craziness.
All right, where are we at here? Let me catch back up. Okay, so we spoke about Heroic. I guess we could talk about the other teams in the event here. Now, this one, I saw a retweet coming out from you, Prof. Was it to do with Nell or was it you, Strike? I forget which one. But one of you was retweeting Nell's tweet
about the French Grand Finals.
Oh, yeah.
So this year, the French have been in 6 Grand Finals between G2 and Vitality, and they've lost them all.
7 now.
Vitality must have a mental block here, right, Strike? That has to start playing in, surely.
Yeah. That's definitely, especially when they lost the last grand final to Heroic as well. Like, it's not going to be a great feeling doing it the second time.
Do you think the Nevera 6th man will play into their decisions off of losing those finals?
He's already playing, right?
Well, apparently.
Seems to me that he might be coming in.
So who do we think he's probably going to be looking at replacing? Striker?
Masuta, right?
Well, you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've heard.
Okay. Masuta actually had some big boy games.
I just heard that they want to help develop Masuta and then bring him back in, but they want NiKo in now because he played like all the shit roles in Heretics his whole life.
Okay.
And was like their best player in Heretics, like 1.1 rated, and he played Rampon Nuke, Biaps Mirage, like all the shit ones,
I think it's just curious that he was watching RPK the entire time, like when he was with them in the office. So that's a bit of a tell right there. But obviously, like, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that he's replacing him, but it makes sense. And also, like, RPK is obviously by far the oldest player on that roster, and is like at that age when a lot of players like decide to retire and stuff. So there's a lot of things that could be considered.
What do we think that the likelihood here is, Prof, that they actually try and run a 6-man roster and don't just do the same bullshit as every other team?
Very low. Like, until I see it, then I won't believe it. Right?
Nobody has actually done it so far, so there's no reason to expect that Vitality will be any different.
Look, I've spoken with Apeks a little bit, right? And obviously there's a lot of Counter-Strike, and I've spoken to him and saying, I was telling him that next year's going to be better, and now I feel that I've lied to him because I think next year's just going to be as shit as this year. But at one point, I truly did believe that next year was going to be better. I'm now disenchanted and jaded and fucking full of it. But look, I think genuinely having a sixth man and having them play in some of these tournaments makes sense to give people a break, but people have to be willing to give up their seat, which means that somebody's going to step on in and maybe play better than them, and that is going to be the fear, right? That is always going to be the fear. We had Glaive on 2 weeks ago, and we were discussing this about how it makes it easier to transition players in for the future, so that you don't get stale and stagnant and do an MIBR or a VP or one of those, an NIP, and completely fuck your legacy. But at the same time, if people aren't willing to take the risk and to do within one tournament, like we saw Astralis do with one game, Bubsky played the first match, and then Glaive was basically on our show saying to Bubsky, right, don't play so aggressive, and you might get a chance to play on the team again. That I don't know how you guys took that, Prof and Striker, but that was the sentiment I was getting from Glaive.
It was honestly surprising to hear to me that he said it on camera.
Super candid as well. It was almost like, hey, play less aggressive, you might get a shot. But like knowing that's in the cards, you have to sit here and think, well, if Vitality are worried about burnout, well, you can't have Apeks step out because he's doing the in-game leadership role now. The two discussion points is either RPK or Masuta, and if you want to develop Masuta, how do you develop him by not having him in the server for officials? Because it's not like they have a B team. So
let's develop you by like saying you have to sit on the bench, you're not good enough. That's gonna develop like everyone. That's gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna.
You improve actually.
I mean, maybe to a degree, right? But it has to be like for short periods. I don't. Maybe the thing behind sitting behind RPK, maybe he's just gonna replace RPK temporarily if RPK wants to take a break for like a month or something, because they've been playing a lot as well. So maybe you give him some time off. He goes, drives turbocharged cars or whatever.
He loves that.
He loves that. That's his thing. So do that, and then when RPK comes back, then you swap Nivera to Misuta's roles or something like that. So you have some kind of a moving, flexible lineup or something. I don't know. But there is also a thing that wasn't there some talks that G2 actually wanted to pick up Misuta before they got the next Hunter deal, when they just wanted to have him as a sixth player as a development, because he was pretty unproven but had something going on. So maybe they will. I think like even Vitality, when they picked up Misuta, it wasn't something that they were 100% set on, because he wasn't like a big signing. Let's be real. He was just someone that they could.
HooXi that wanted Misuta. That's why he got in. Like, he was pushing for him hard, and that he thought he could be like the next HooXi. You know, like Shock said that. I think. That's what I've heard. I mean, I've heard many things this show, but I'm pretty confident on that one. That's why he got picked up.
They also do play like sites together and stuff like that. I think there is something.
Yeah, they're pretty close. That I heard. So.
I actually was thinking that comparison kind of made sense for the future, because this kid, he had a couple of big boy games. Like, I've watched a lot of his Counter-Strike with Vitality, and in the beginning I was very underwhelmed. Then I was like, okay, he's serviceable. He's not just hemorrhaging kills anymore. And then his dust to an overpass performances against Astralis the other day in the upper bracket final, I really took notice, because he had some big multi-kill rounds, like some proper impact rounds where it really tipped the tide of those two maps, which was 16-10, 16-11 in Vitality's favor. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, maybe having Nivera behind, like not behind him literally, but there on the bench, has given him a kick up the arse, or maybe, you know, just that fear of, I might get replaced here. Because we don't know what Vitality are going to do, right? I'm sure half these teams don't know what the fuck they're going to do either. But they need to get past this mental block. And if bringing Nivera in can give them like, I don't know, the honeymoon phase again, maybe that's what they need, right? Maybe that's what they need to pick up a trophy, because the events aren't going to get easier for the rest of the year. They're actually probably going to get harder.
Yep.
And with the type of Counter-Strike we're being seen played at the moment, it seems like there's a lot more individualism coming out just based off of the stat line we had before with, what was it, 31 aces, you said?
I think so. Yeah.
So that's fucking insane. It's like I think the individual.
I mean, there are a lot of maps, so there's also one thing about that, but still.
I feel that Counter-Strike at the moment, like even teams like Astralis are taking more risks and just taking more fights. Like we discussed with Glaive about, I think it was Device having more impact with the rifle, and it's just like that's just the type of Counter-Strike that's being played at the moment. You have to fight them, and I think with that in play, like if Nivera can come in and continue the rating that you were talking about, smooya, on this roster and be an upgrade for either Masuta or RPK, then they're close, right? Because I think the type of CS that Vitality play, Threat used a good word for it, high variance, is they do take a lot of risks. And if you can take those risks and your individuals hit the shots, as stupid and as cliche as it sounds, that's how you're going to win rounds. It's not all going to be the tactical nuance game.
That's all that matters. If you can put your crosshair on the head and click a bit faster than them, regardless of what the ground's called and stuff, you're going to win. So I've always said that.
Counter-Strike, right? That's the fucking 101 right there.
Would you say CS is more aim or brain, Chad? Because you've played it, but back when you played, there was like no brain.
Back when I played, it was just fast executes, right? Like you just call from spawn and go. But now I think what's happened is Counter-Strike's been broken down into a lot smaller duels. Like that's why the rounds take a lot longer. That's why there's a lot more like. Dude, you probably don't even notice it, smooya, but you go back and watch a couple demos from like 3-4 years ago. People aren't jiggle peeking or showing the barrel or circle jumping. But they aren't doing that. We weren't doing that shit. I was fucking wide swinging like a motherfucker. Yeah. Now, every single fight I see, it's a little jiggle, a little show of the arm, you know, a little
jump around the corner and show the elbow and stuff. Yeah.
But it's with every fight, and that's the thing that's wild to me. Like, there's very little risk taken in those duels, which is why, like with Vitality, I can see a little bit of the old style in some of Apex's calling. Like they take a lot more risks, they'll take a lot more liberties in areas they push. They won't jiggle every corner, they won't use a smoke, they'll maybe just put a body on the line instead.
Have you noticed as well? Sorry, on pistol rounds, Snappi is a huge believer in this. But if you watch, I haven't seen this pistol ace from when was it Masuda killed 5, but I bet if you watch it, the first 2 people weren't just jumping. But if you watch most pistol rounds now, on T side, if you have a Glock, the first 2 people just jump like fucking clowns right in their unicycles, looking at the ground, fucking doing shit. Because you have a USP. Okay, you want to kill this guy in the body? You have to use a whole clip because a USP is a fucking pea shooter. You kill this guy, you start reloading, there's 4 guys on you, and you're like, okay, this is bullshit. So you have to try flick one-shot this guy, then flick one-shot the next guy, then the 3 guys are already crouched spraying you, you know? Yeah. Like, pistol rounds are so fucking hard now if people play them properly, because you just run and jump like a fucking motherfucker and you can't do it. Like, it's impossible. But before everyone used to just run like, never jiggled, never jumped, just come around the corner super slowly. USP, click, 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 click. Yeah. But, so just watch for that in pistol rounds, man. Everyone jumps like it's a clown fiesta now.
I haven't noticed like too many, because this is one thing that I do when we have the players on and we do interviews, and I try and ask them, what do you think's changed? Like to somebody like Flusher, for example, who's been playing, won the first fucking major, still playing now. And when they give me like an answer, Flusher's maybe a bad example. I don't know the last time I spoke to him, but when they give me an answer like, oh yeah, not really a lot, I'm like, no. A lot has changed. The entire game is different. Like, look at the video game then compared to the video game now. Like, people
I think that they don't really realize how much has changed unless you look back and see how big the difference is between like 3-4 years. But if you go from year to year, not that much changes. But like eventually, it just adds up, and it's just a massive difference. But like compared to 2013, this is exactly.
But it's like Russian walking, for example, or like the crouch hop in 1.6. When that came in, like that was exploiting the hitboxes, right? Like we've had all of those developments happen over the years. So we have a lot more topics still to cover. We've got to keep fucking moving, boys. Okay, let's go through these. So we're going to quickly jump on straight in here with MIBR announcements. So if you guys missed that, MIBR were left with only KNG and TRK, which means they got rid of Fallen, Fur, and Taco. They're no longer part of it. Fallen actually opted to step down from the roster because he wanted to, didn't like the decision. Right? Interesting decision. It's not like he needs the money. I would, if I was Fallen, I'd take my time to consider the options going forward and work on a better team and a better project. So I actually think it's good for him to have some time off, because that guy's been non-stop since they made it onto the scene. Now, the move that I like the most with this, so for everybody playing at home, the move that they did announce Kogu to come back as a manager / coach for the team. Now, the best thing about that, if you guys aren't too familiar with Kogu, he was a part of MIBR back in the day. Like, we're talking back in 2005.
12 years ago.
Exactly. So for the Brazilians, having somebody like him as now the figurehead of the team is fantastic.
Like someone to support, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it kind of almost rebrands them. So I think that was fucking genius. Tommy probably was involved in that. That's Lurpus. So that's fantastic on him. But the 3 players that they brought in as stand-ins, obviously they're kicking off in Blast, is Lucas, brother of Henny, VSM, who is unfortunately backbanned, but a very good player, and Leo Drunky, who's changed his name to Leo DRK. So those are the 3. Now, let's kick this one over to you, Prof. Do you think this is just like, shit, let's get whoever we can? Or do you think there's rhyme and reason to the players they've picked?
I think it kind of makes sense as a lineup overall. From like VSM is literally probably the best player in Brazil that we didn't see. He's pretty sick, and it's just the VAC ban that held him back. Like without the VAC ban, we had seen him at like pro leagues. I mean, we saw him at one pro league play for Daytona, right?
Yep.
But like I mean the real pro league finals and all of that shit, he would be there, right? Other than that, like Lucas. I guess Lucas is going to slot in as the supportive style player that he has always been. And then TRK, the other like more active anchor, I guess. KNG on the op, so no double op bullshit with Fallen. And then Leo Drunky, I think he even did some in-game leading and entrying. So that it's just like it fits overall. I think it just fits as from the roles, from the talent that they had. Like all of these players are kind of good. So I don't know. I think it's actually a decent team.
I look at this here and I look at the Lucas pickup. Now, Striker, do you think he's picked up because he's part of the boys club or because he brings some much needed experience for the other names?
I feel like, yeah. The thing is like the whole, sure, it makes sense to a degree, but at the same time, it feels that it happened so quickly that I'm not entirely sure that they had too many other options as well. Like I feel like they just had to opt into some of these players that they could get, because who else would they gonna get? Like FURIA is obviously not available, and even if they were, they would not join MIBR at this point. Let me tell you that. And like a lot of the other teams are also tied down. So I feel like it is like a combination of, let's get some new guys in and whoever we can. I don't think there was like a massive amount of thought that was put into it. Also because of how they kind of presented it as a trio of stand-ins, more than as a trial or as an actual lineup. So
that's the part I don't really like. I mean, it could be just because of how they dealt with the contracts and everything. They don't have anything like signed. But I don't like the idea that they're stand-in / trial, whatever. It seems like if anything goes bad, like we'll just kick everyone.
I like that.
Like Kogu is also like
it's better like that, I think.
But where do you start building the team then?
This is where you start. Like you just see if it fits, right? Like as long as it isn't a boy club thing with KNG and Lucas, because obviously they're friends. Like if you guys follow them on social media, you'll see that they're friends. As long as it's like Kogu or Lurpus over there, as someone just goes, no, this guy's shit, we're getting rid of him, right? Like as long as there's that decision making going on, I don't mind it. Because if VSM comes in here and he just fucking rocks it and he's like showing good ratings and fragging with the best of them, then keep him, right? Don't worry about the VAC ban shit. MIBR need to rebuild. Like it's a great starting point, okay? KNG, like VSM, TRK, decent starting point. Leo, Lucas, okay, you guys didn't do so good. We'll keep you, Leo, for one more. We'll bring in this guy. And it just keeps it fluid. You're not getting anyone's hopes and expectations up. You're not signing people to 3-year deals. And if they suck, then like, how are they to know? Because a lot of these guys haven't been tested properly, especially obviously VSM and Leo. And TRK didn't get to play that much international CS either. So I think that this is probably the best way to do it when things are so uncertain. But smooya, I got one for you because KNG, he as an AWPer, for me, I thought when he was going to join with the old team with Fallen there, that it was going to be super exciting because he's a fired up guy. He'd bring the passion back, bring the fire back. Do you think that like now that he is the mantelpiece of this team and the way that he plays, that MIBR could work in general?
I'm pretty sure because if you look at the team now, they have like 3 players who in their career are like 1.2 rating. While KNG's career is like maybe not pretty 1.13 now, but if he was to have just played every role he wanted to play his whole life, he would be like 1.2. Like he's a fucking super. What's the word? Like he's got a lot of accolades. He's finished second at a major. He's done this. He's always been one of the best AWPs. Then you have VSM, who's literally he fucking walks on water. And then TRK. People don't realize this because he played in the. I won't comment on it, but he played in the hellhole of, you have to play every shit position because we're MIBR. And he's 0.69 past few months. He's not a 0.696 player. He's a beast. Like, even when he was playing in, I forgot what his team was before, but I played against him in Chaos quite often. Was it Team 1 he played in?
Team 1, yeah.
Literally was slapping kids. Like he was a part of the upset who beat Cloud9 way back after they won the major and they played at WSG. He fucking put it on them, dude. Like everyone was like, who the fuck is this guy? I honestly think they will be much better now because if TRK gets the roles he deserves, VSM, if they make it work, they have more potential than the last team 100% because I mean having KNG and Fallen, it just wasn't working. But
I feel like it's going to be kind of a crazy lineup, though, just because of KNG being in charge. Obviously, I know he was already before, but it's just an entirely new face. And this is something that I was talking about in the preview that I did. I released it earlier today. It's still up, or it's already up. And with KNG leading and there not being really any old guard, obviously they have Koga behind now, but I'm not entirely sure how much of an impact he's going to have in such a short amount of period of time with 3 entirely new players. So I feel like earlier on, they're just going to be mega chaotic and just like run around and try to kill people. I don't think it's going to be a massively
Astralis, don't they?
But that's how they play, though. Like that's them. Like even before.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I can actually see that kind of working for them, at least in the short term.
Yeah.
Like long term, I'm not. This is not necessarily a playstyle that ever works long term. But I do think that in the short term, they're going to be okay, just because everybody's just going to run around and try to kill people.
Yeah, if everyone plays even if everyone plays like 90% of their individual skill, they can be top 20. They have the players, but will that happen? Yeah, I'll find out on the next chapter of MIBR.
It's hard for them, right? They have a very tough mountain to climb.
I don't see them doing anything at Blast. It's just too hard.
They
too
have
hard
to
of a
remove
teams.
expectations. Like their fans have to realize Fallen's not the second best AWP in the world. They don't have culture anymore. They have to just take them for what they have. Not, we won trophies. Fallen 2 majors, smooya 0. Dude, what the fuck? I beat them in 1 game. Like, calm down. Like, just remove all expectations and just support them for who they are, and then they should do good. So,
all right. I think we got the soundbite we need right there, so that's good. We'll get that one on social media any second. All right, let's move forward. Mad Lions, Prof. They finally announced what was going on.
Let's go. It took them, I think, 9 weeks or more to get that out. They got it out. Nice. Majorly constipated over there in Mad Lions, but yeah, they managed to do it. What to say about this lineup? Not much. I don't think we even have to talk about them until they do something or we see them. They're playing in the ELISA Invitational now. Their first match
won a game
since June, I think.
Oh, really?
June. Yeah. So that's how long they've been like just AFKing. I mean, they've been practicing, of course, because we know this lineup was gonna happen like literally 2 months almost. They've been practicing, so I guess they're gonna be showing some decent form or whatever. But not a team that we can talk much about, I feel like.
Yeah, so just for those people, it's refrezh and HooXi who have joined. Obviously, Bubsky stepped down earlier in the year, and Asilian got removed from the team. He's gone back to Copenhagen Flames. The team is now Acor, Shush, HooXi, Roy, and refrezh.
Entirely disregarding the fact that Innocent was on the team.
Oh, yeah. Innocent was on the team, too. That happened.
Literally, like, I think it was 3 weeks, but they delayed the announcement that he was benched for like 2-3 weeks. So it ended up being more than a month. I think he literally was cut less than a month after he was signed. Long-term contract, by the way. So GG, like,
he's making bank.
He's not that bad off, but it's still like, what the hell are you doing, guys?
Yeah, so
it didn't make sense in the first place.
Yeah, we noted that at the time. It didn't make too much sense, but I think refrezh could actually be a good firepower pick up there. Shush, refrezh, and Acor. That's pretty decent.
I mean, the interesting part about this is HooXi, just because of the in-game leadership aspect, right? I don't think that there was ever any problem in terms of firepower. Well, of course, like with Asilian, there was a lot of criticism about his numbers and stuff like that. But he also, I feel like, didn't really carry the flag when it came to taking over from Hunden and being able to keep this team on the track that they were supposed to be on. So hopefully, this relatively young guy in HooXi is going to be able to have like a bit of a fresh approach that's going to bring them a little bit more forward again.
Okay, smooya, I want to ask you about the jkaem to Apeks move. What do you make of that?
That's interesting. I actually spoke to him the same day it got reported, and I asked him like, what the hell's going on? Because we like connected pretty well when I studied for Renegades a while back. And I just said to him, bro, fucking don't lie to me. Tell me what's going on, And he just said what's come out, that he wants to bring Norwegian CS back. They have some big plans to sign some other players, like later on in the future. And I just said, fuck, I wish the best, because he's always wanted to do that, because he feels like that Norway has a lot of talent. And he never liked being like the one guy that, like him and Rain, he felt like it was unfair that it was only them that had like all the praise. Kind of like my situation in the UK, like how I was kind of like the first one, and then I didn't like being the only one. He's exactly the same. And he said he's been looking to do that for a while, and he finally got a chance, and he took it. I said, fuck, I wish the best, and
Yeah,
good move. It's like he hasn't took a pay cut or anything apparently, which is kind of crazy to hear. But,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was speaking with JKS a little bit about all this stuff before the complexity move went down, and he mentioned that Jacob probably wanted to head home, which I understand, right? Like, how long was he considering living in the States for? And it was already quite a long chunk of time for him. So I get the move. I was kind of hoping that like Dignitas would make some big boy plays and get Rain and Jacob, and like have Jacob, Rain, Halzerk, Freiburg, and Forest, and like that to me seems like a pretty sick roster. I don't think Rain is over the hill yet. I know a lot of people like quote his stats recently, and they're like, "Oh, he's not playing," but I don't think he's over the hill at all. I just think that
Rain's insane.
Yeah. So look, it'd be interesting because Norway does have a lot of talent. Is there anyone that we don't know about from the Norwegian scene, Prof, that is hanging around? Any of these other names in Apeks that we should be keeping an eye on?
I don't know. I think it's the classic people that we have been covering before, right?
Yeah.
I think they added this nasty kid who had like a nice 1v2 clutch against Heroic today in overtime, but I think he's just like a temporary thing. Okay. So I think it's just going to be probably the names that we know from the Norwegian scene. But yeah, I agree about the Dignitas thing. That really made sense to me. For like Jacob to go into something like that, that's like maybe a Swedish Norwegian mix. You know, you still get to play from home, your language, some Norwegian players, but this kind of took me off guard, to be honest. But yeah, what smooya said, they're obviously planning to do more moves. This can't.
Yeah, he's planning for some big like. Of course, you can probably put 2 and 2 together, but yeah, he's wants to have like a proper like Norwegian super team. In like 1 or 2 years.
Okay, so when Rain's out of contract with FaZe, and so a bit of movement.
We get Halzerk from Dignitas, and all of that.
Bit of moves to happen. Now we're going to skip over the Nevera joining Vitality one. I think we already discussed that enough. Okay, so Cloud9 and ESIC here. Now, Striker, were you the one reporting on that?
Man, this is like such a long time ago that I don't even know, man.
It feels like a lifetime.
No, I think it was just the announcement though that we did.
Okay, so this one right here, I'm not gonna lie, I just retweet Henry's shit when he does it because he's my mate. I don't really actually read it. So, what was the contract situation with ESIC?
Was it 2.1 million?
It must have gone for a lot.
It was the most.
44K a month dollars, right? After everything.
Oh, here it is. He's got it pinned. Contract length 3 years, value 2.1 million.
Yeah.
So we're obviously dealing in US dollars, right? Like, so if we're dealing
Australian.
Not Australian, because it would be a little bit more. But this kind of a signing striker, like no one saw this coming, right?
I think. Well, that's the first thing. I don't think anybody saw this coming, just especially because of how ESIC has kind of been pretty damn successful over at Astralis. So that was the surprising part of it, because of course because he also makes a lot more sense as a sixth man, you know, as somebody who can come in and replace pretty much everybody on the rest of the team in Astralis. So for them to get rid of him is interesting in its own right, but for Cloud9 to pay that much for him is the interesting part for me, just because. Look, imagine if you heard this 6 months ago. Imagine if you heard this number even fucking 3 months ago, before he started playing for Astralis. 2.1 million. Like, imagine somebody saying, okay, we're paying 2.1 million for ESIC. Like, imagine hearing this 3 months ago and saying, okay, that seems reasonable. Yeah. Of course it isn't, man. So for his value to shoot up this much just over a relatively short period of time with Astralis, where, of course, he played well. They obviously won a tournament. They placed third at the latest, you know, within the last with him. So it's like, obviously he's been successful and his stats have actually been looking really good, but it's not what he's going to play in Cloud9. It's not the same role. It's not essentially the same situation. He's going to be in an entirely different system. There's no guarantee that he's going to be as good as he was in Astralis. I don't think he's going to be bad. I don't think there's any expectation of that. But is he going to be a massive star for them? That is worth 2.1 million and basically like the most. Sorry,
he only took a small gamble.
Yeah,
it's only $2.1 million.
Yeah, exactly. It's a small load.
If we keep this framed for a second around the Cloud9 side of things before we talk about the Astralis side of things.
Oh my god!
With the team, with how you see it on paper. So ESIC, the most recent signing, we obviously had Alex as the mantelpiece, mezii coming in, Floppy being kept and re-signed, and then HooXi, right? Is this a team, if someone read to you, that you think can be a top 10 team in the world?
Don't
see why not. I would say
get smooya in, and then we'll.
Okay.
We'll
I would say top 5.
Top 5.
I don't see why not. Like, my only issue is it's online now, and their biggest hitting piece is HooXi, and he hasn't shown that he's that good online. You know, he had his troubles with mouse spots. He's always had like Turkish internet, right? And like he always said he has like 90 ping to like every server, and even in FPL and stuff. So it's been an issue for him. Is it a boot camp now? If HooXi plays to the level, even his like 90% of normal HooXi, yeah, they'll be top 5 because he's that insane, you know.
Top 5. Like, let me read you the teams currently in the top 5. Astralis, Heroic, FURIA, Vitality, NAVI. You think this Cloud9 roster can be better than any of those names?
Online, yeah. I mean,
really?
But that top 5 will be different in 1 month when when VP end up there because they beat everyone online because it's online. Like, online doesn't matter at all, man. Okay,
well,
they can be
don't
top 8.
say that now.
Okay,
we
right
might be
now
here
online,
for a lot longer.
Okay, online matters for now, but I mean, in like the history of the game, it won't really like. No one's gonna look back at this and say, "Yo, remember that team from 2020 during COVID? Yeah, they were the best team in the world." They'll be like, "Yeah, it was a fucking clusterfuck. Anyone could be the best team." But I would say top 8 then. Like,
okay,
like there you go. But easily, of course, they have. The biggest question is Alex, right? Because his
okay, go ahead.
I mean, he's always had Zywoo. Without Zywoo, his team was top 50. I used to beat him in Epsilon all the time. Like, it wasn't that hard. And then he got Zywoo, and he was top 1 his whole life. So it's the biggest question mark is how is Alex without Zywoo? And I think he'll be completely fine, to be honest. The whole team should be very good, to be honest. So.
That's one of the things, though, Striker, where if you look at this Cloud9 roster, HooXi being, dropped from the Mouse Sports team. You have Alex, who's been out of commission for a while, mezii wanting to prove himself at this level, Floppy wanting to prove himself on an EU level, and then obviously ESIC here off of the stardom from Astralis, wanting to see if he can carry that form. Do you think there's an extra level of hunger to this team for all the parts?
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Just because it's a relatively young roster overall, and I mean, I think Alex is their oldest player at 25, and the rest are like 22, 24. And so relatively, it's a young roster that should be pretty hungry, even with especially with like people like mezii, being on it. And I think mezii is actually the one factor that I think is going to decide a lot. If he's as good as Henry G thinks he's going to be, I do think that this team can definitely reach the top 10 level.
Okay,
I think it really does stand a lot on him. I don't want to put so much pressure on just one guy, just because this is an entirely new team. We don't know how the chemistry is going to work, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. But I think on an individual basis, I think the biggest question mark is 100% mezii. Because if he is as good as he is shown at the lower tier, and if he's going to be able to replicate that higher, then I think this team is going to be good.
Okay. What do you think about Floppy's chances hitting the ground running here, Prof? Do you think there's going to be a couple of struggles going from North American CS to European?
I mean, probably not even just because of that, just because of the whole new team, where he's going to play. Is he going to play the same roles? Is he going to have to adapt to like different style of calling, different style of communication, just all of these things. So I think he's definitely going to take at least some sort of a hit, like his form short term. But I think, like, I agree kind of with Striker that that's not going to be the deal breaker for this team. I don't think Floppy is going to be the man that is going to decide if the team works or not. Just the whole asset tag situation, I think when you take away the price tag, if you didn't know that, it would be like completely fine. But when you include that part, it makes it weird from the perspective of, I don't know who made this tweet or something, but someone made fun about it. Like, Floppy is literally earning 4 times less than asset tag. Like, is he gonna throw a pop flash for asset tag to go for a piece? Like, man, you earn 4 times the salary. Just like go out and earn it. Run out through a smoke, kill 4 guys. That's it. I'll take the 1 eco frag. That's it. Easy times. It's gonna, that part is kind of weird for me. The evaluation that they gave to asset tag, because the money transfers into his value in the team. Like, I don't know how that is really justifiable.
I mean, especially like when he comes in as a 5th to kind of round out the roster, right? And especially as a guy who has a lot of versatility to him and can play like a lot of different roles, can switch around if things aren't working as how Kassad and Henry kind of imagined it. With the roles, he can obviously switch around. That's a guy that makes complete sense to come in as a 5th player to any team, essentially. but he's not a player that you sign and last as the by far the most expensive player, as the guy who you expect to be the massive star. Obviously, there are different factors. He's coming from Astralis, who are going to be very tough to negotiate with, especially given that he's actually had quite a lot of success with them, and he's going to be an expensive transfer. We can expect that, and so ESIC is going to have quite a lot of negotiation value. But obviously, when you look at the value without any sort of context, it doesn't make any sense to me.
That's a bit expensive, like.
My final just words. I think when you add Kassad to this, I think that's the thing that pushes this team into, like, I'm optimistic about the team, because when you look at 100 Thieves, Renegades, what he had there, I think the pieces were individually much worse when you just like compare 1-to-1. But that team, on the other hand, had like a stable cohesion. Like, it was a team for a long time, so he didn't have to dabble in these like interpersonal relationships and make sure this guy doesn't hate this guy. Like, that team kind of functioned on its own. Of course, they had their issues as well, but this is going to be like building a team of people and then building a team of like CS players. So that's going to be maybe the harder part. But overall, I think Kassad is going to make good shit out of this team.
Well, I know that Henry's going to be with them during the boot camp and quite hands-on with a lot of it. So knowing Henry, he's not going to take any bullshit, right? Like, if people are there having fucking tantrums as children, Henry's a 31-year-old man. He's going to tell people.
Pokemon cards.
It's an investment. It's an investment for the future now. All right, Henry's he's going to be a millionaire before any of us fucking have anything with his Pokemon cards. Yeah,
I was joking.
That's all. Look, I want to get to this next topic because I was about to get super like quite ranty, and I know we're running out of time, but I really want to get this in. So we looked at the Cloud9 side of this coin. Does anybody else feel that the way that Astralis have framed this, that it's maybe? Well, I think that we've had the wool pulled over our eyes here with this 7-man roster situation.
I mean, we literally did not really
called it bullshit the other week when Glaive was here. I said, Glaive, about this bullshit, right? But the thing here is, with them coming out and the way that they framed this, right? It was like, oh, we want. What was the wording? We have an obligation towards our own business and towards the player, and as such, we are pleased to have finalized this agreement with Cloud9 as a player, as professional patch. We missed it.
By the way, that's okay. No, go ahead.
I'm just trying to find the bit here, which I thought was a little bit weird for me to read. It's like they're making it sound like it was a decision he wanted to pursue. Let me tell you, if I'm ESIC, and I don't know because I haven't spoken to him, and he probably wouldn't candidly say this on the record anyway. If I had a choice to continue as the 6th man for Astralis when they were winning, and it was quite clear that it seemed like good relationships with other players in the team, and he was performing very well in some of their games, I would want to stay as a household name in Astralis, in my own country, where I'm basically a fucking celebrity, getting paid a shitload of money, and probably wasn't really in any threat to get replaced by Bubsky based off of what we heard from Glaive on last week's show. And Zipex, look, this is where, smooya, you and I are about to go down the rumor mill, because I want to hear if you've been keeping your head to the ground as much as what I have with some of this stuff. But this is why I think that I'm going to get myself in hot water here. Fuck it. I heard through multiple different sources of either players or coaches or management of other teams that the 3 individuals, Zipex, ESIC, and Bubsky, were all being shipped out to one of them to potentially be sold. That I heard to multiple different teams that they were trying to do that. Now, smooya, as someone who is probably in the gossip columns of Counter-Strike, literally.
What was that again? They wanted to sell all 3 to one team?
Not all 3. One of the 3. They were trying to...
But that's happened, right?
Yeah, but...
Zipex being part of that conversation is interesting, first of all.
Okay. No, I never heard that.
Now, they've obviously said here that, like, this is a
They presented it as if they couldn't say no to the offer because it was too good, plus ESIC wanted to leave. That was how they presented it.
I know what you said about being a household name, playing well. Dude, $44,000 a month? Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, you have to leave. it's impossible. That's
it's
money.
hard to say no to be fair. That's very true.
And as much as people say, yeah, money means nothing to me. I know he's actually from quite a wealthy family. Like, he's not struggling for money at no point in his life. But fuck me, man, you work 10 months, you $500,000.
He also played for mostly like kind of shittier teams orgs. Like, he didn't play for big orgs before. Like, this is his first chance. So before that, he wasn't earning like 30K in heroic for sure. So
yeah, and I'd also assume that he wasn't a massive earner in Astralis just because he kind of came in as a sixth piece, like an extra member of a roster. So there's no way he was paid anything close to what the original 5 were.
I mean, even if it was half of it, you have to think like 20K. Like, I mean, most people who are esports players have like lost track of money. But if you earn like 4K a month, you're in like the top % of the world of earning money, right? Double it. So if you're making 20K, you're like fucking. There's only a handful of people that earn that sort of money. Then imagine doubling that again. Are you kidding me? That's
a lot of money, yeah.
It's like, I've earned money in my life that I never thought I would earn in my life. He's going to make my whole earnings in like 5 months on Cloud9. Are you fucking kidding me? If I got off 44K, the shit I would do for that is so crazy, man. I swear. It makes sense for him to leave. Like, the money's just, you can't say no to 44K, man.
And I think it's
way too much money.
While I don't think it's necessarily the only thing, but I do think that business-wise, from Astralis' point of view, this makes perfect sense because they literally got him for free.
Yeah.
They probably didn't pay him anywhere close. As I said, like, I would be surprised if he got paid 20K a month. Like, I don't think he's anywhere close.
Probably, yeah.
Probably, yeah, 10K I could imagine. But if they were paying him that, they sold him for fucking who knows what the actual number is, because
could be around $500,000. That was
it
like
not reported? Was 400K or?
I think the report was
meant to be around that.
That's a speculation.
Yeah, I actually know, and I've just released something. I saw it on the report.
No. I do know that somebody said that like $500,000 is like a reasonable amount to say. Hard to say.
No, I think he couldn't release that because Astralis didn't want or something. They just made a deal between the orgs that they won't release the exact buyout.
But yeah, but like people were saying basically that like somewhere around the $500,000 mark is reasonable. I mean, I think it is because it is Astralis that we're talking about. It is an organization that's pretty big on the global scale. So it's going to be an expensive buyout for a guy that has been very useful to the team. So for them to sell him after getting him for free 3 months ago for $500,000, and then didn't really spend too much on salaries in that time, probably like 50K, let's say, even if that was the case. Like, that's an insane business decision to make.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, man.
I just want to point out that like they couldn't get JKS. That's the thing that was mind-boggling to me when they spent so much. Cloud9, that is. Like, that
was one of the names we were discussing, right? For Cloud9.
Yeah. So obviously, like, whatever happened, Complexity did get the one-up on them there. Like, if I'm JKS at the same time, I'd rather join Complexity than Cloud9. It's an established team right now, and you know what you're joining, what's going to happen. So that makes sense. But at the same time, it is kind of a missed opportunity when you're going that big. That would be the name when you see Cloud9. It's going to be, okay, this is sick, with JKS as the fifth. But obviously couldn't pull it through.
All right. Well, do we want to segue from that? Because you set me up nicely there, Prof.
I guess.
Yeah, so we can talk more about the Astralis Cloud9 stuff. We can talk.
I could.
Oh, didn't you want to make some point about Astralis?
I did, and from what I had heard, and like I said, multiple different sources, people coming to me and saying that they've we're getting the shop window of those 3 players I talked about: Zipex, Esatag, and Bubsky. All 3 of which Bubsky made a tweet as well, didn't he? About he could have gone.
He was something like he was offered the same. Like the
same path that Esatag got, right?
Yeah, something like that. He was offered it, but then he clarified saying that he'd never really asked to leave. It's just like when he the deal with Astralis is that he is allowed to leave if he gets an offer. Yeah, and he is bought out, right? So essentially, that was the thinking. I think
Bobsky's gist was that he doesn't want to leave, but if he wanted to leave, he could leave. He just like Esatag left.
Okay, let me just double check my DMs right here.
I think I can just throw in a short disclaimer about the whole Astralis HLTV situation. We can't at the moment talk in depth about it, but the whole the most important part is what Louis Mira already said, both on Twitter, on Reddit. There are literally no new, and this show and everything that is posted has not been influenced by anyone outside of HLTV. It's literally like me, Striker, Lewis, Sponge coming up with questions that we do. Like, there is no influence from Astralis or whatever people think that might be going on. But
everything, man.
Yeah, nothing. We can't talk about the whole situation right now because it's complicated and whatever. But hopefully, it's gonna be resolved soon. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Maybe we can share more details.
Thank you, Captain.
Down the road.
There we go. Well, that's that. Look, all in all, the point I'm trying to make here is actually the one that Astralis have pulled the fucking wool over everyone's eyes when I hear that they're shipping those 3 players out. Now, if they're trying to sell those 3 players or one of the 3, which they've been able to do, and it was just because they were seeing what was available and how much money they could get, and they were using that as a bit of a farm, that's fine. Like, I don't hate that. I can see that angle that they're coming from there. But if it was like they never really intended to have a 7-man roster or a 6-man roster and this was just to fill a gap, then I'm like, oh man, like, why did we do this whole narrative? And the thing is, we'll probably never know the truth. Like, we will probably never know like the nitty gritty unless a player or somebody comes out at some point and says something. But all in all, it's like when I'm hearing from players and coaches and that kind of stuff that their teams are getting approached and those 3 names going through the shop window, it's like, I was getting behind it. Like, I could see it. And then now I'm like, oh man, like, it just feels a bit bleh. But
that's crazy though that Apeks was on the chopping block as well. I can't believe that, to be honest.
Like, I obviously don't want the people who told me within good faith. I don't want to be fucking throwing people under the bus here, but
I mean, it shows.
Don't say names, man.
It shows that the whole 7-man roster was never really meant to be a thing, right? It's just like a reaction to what was happening in the team with Glaive and Apeks kind of following suit. And that's essentially what, because like, as we see, like, they literally got rid of their players as soon as they possibly could have, like one of the players anyway.
Sure.
Because like literally as Apeks can come in even, they don't even have to use Bobski at this point. So as Apeks comes in, as a tag leaves, so it's just like, it shows you that the whole idea behind it wasn't as essentially what Astralis were talking about. It was just a way to deal with the situation that was presented to them with Glaive and Apeks, having to step away.
Well, they've made everybody else invest, haven't they?
I think it's like, imagine they did some like backwards trick to say, yeah, we're going to sell you Apeks, you fuck. And then that made him come back, because maybe they didn't know when he was going to come back. Maybe he didn't give them a date and they're like, yeah, actually, we're going to sell you. And he's like, I'm ready, let's go, boys. Like, getting in the cell.
No, well,
that's possible. I'm not sure.
But they were talking about him being part of practice for a while before that, I think. So
he sells Apeks? Who
that'd be surprising to me as well, to be honest.
Imagine he just joined FaZe or something. Apeks to FaZe.
Yeah, all right, let's move before I fucking say something I shouldn't. Okay, so we're looking at the future of Liazz and Gratisfaction from the 100 Thieves roster. Now, you obviously had the opportunity, smooya, to play with a couple of these names back earlier in the year, last year, when there was some visa issues for Grat, I believe it was. Now, what do you think, just off of these players? Do you think they have merit to go elsewhere and compete in top 20 teams?
Top 20 for all the players, you mean?
Yeah, like let's say as an in-game leader or as a player in the squad right now, he's 27. You think he's still got some life left in him?
I don't see why Azza couldn't. Yeah, could he IGL FaZe maybe? Don't see why not. I mean, like, who else is FaZe going to bring as an IGL?
Move to Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why. I mean, fuck, FaZe have tried everything, right? They might as well give an actual IGL a chance who speaks good English. He's kind of played in that kind of team where he's always had like some star players you've had to like bring them together and make them play better as a team. Maybe that could be a good move. Individually, well, when I played with Azza, like, fuck, I love Aaron a lot, but I thought he wasn't that good. But since like he's played the last year, maybe he's played a lot better individually. Like, when I played with him, I was like, yeah, what the hell? Like, I thought they were gonna carry me, I feel like he actually picked up his game a lot. I was not surprised about, because I know he was good before he IGL'd. Like, he was very good, right? He was like a star player with you as well, especially. Yeah. I don't see why not. He's insane. He has a good mind for the game. I would say so. I don't see if FaZe gave him a chance. I think they could be pretty good. And then Liazz is undoubtedly the most mechanically skilled player I've played with. Like, I remember, I'll never forget it. The first time I met this guy, I walked into the house in Detroit, and I was staying with him. We had the most awkward handshake I've ever had with someone in my life. like I went for a fist bump, he went for a handshake, then we changed it, then we just hooked each other. Oh, it was so cringe. But I watched him play a FaZe game, and I was so fucking surprised at how insane his movement is, his game sense, his aim, everything. Like it's the weirdest thing, but it makes sense because he was like 1.9 rated in Australia or something. Like he was like a god amongst men, right? And then he came to Renegade at the time and had to play all the support roles and couldn't do anything. So I feel like if like Gen G were to give him a chance and he played all the star roles, fuck, I think he could bang like pretty hard. Okay. And I've always raved about Gratisfaction. I said last time on here as well. I think he's very, very fucking good. So.
All right. Well, that's some high praise right there. I think with the Liazz situation, that report, who brought that report in? Was that a HLTV one, or was that from like Nell or DK?
I don't know. I think it's a DK one. I don't remember completely. But I think there was a good piece of info that came out from their 100 Thieves Renegades mental coach, who tweeted something along the lines of, when Liazz was coming over, he was preparing Liazz to take over JKS's roles.
Yes.
So that was apparently the plan with the team back then. I don't know where JKS would have been going at that, or what was.
We've had a couple of discussions over the last few years, Justin and I, just trying to work out what kind of makes the most sense. But I think Liazz, for those people who aren't too familiar, played JKS roles in Australia. And then coming into this team, as smooya just put it, he had to take all the support roles, right?
Support role.
He started to warm into those support roles towards the tail end of that team. So, and we was finding more impact. So I'm excited to see more from him. I think out of the three of them, he has the most growth, at least that people at home will get to see. I'm just hoping he doesn't end up in a team that is a bit of a recycling bin for players. Like you just...
Name the team. Name it.
No, what I mean is, if he goes to Gen G, I just don't want to see them constantly changing names.
And shitballs and stuff.
I want to see like Liazz and Bentet on the same team. If they had another player from that kind of region, right, they could even still qualify over on that side of the world. It wouldn't be. I guess it doesn't matter at the moment. It doesn't fucking COVID. All right, we can
almost.
It's a team that Asia could get behind. You know.
There you go. What do we do with Gratisfaction though? Because right now he is the only one who I can't see a home for. I was trying to think about it. I was really trying to think about it. I can't find one.
I mean, he's in the same position I'm in.
Yes.
It's an English-speaking AWPer trying to fit into a team. Liquid don't need an AWPer. EG aren't going to kick Cirque. There's no space in FaZe, and there's no space in Mousebots. They're kind of the only English-speaking teams right now that... And I mean, I haven't really looked that hard because I've been AFK because I'm trying to fix my internet and shit in real life. But from the top of my head, maybe there's like a few more. But they're not international speaking yet. And it's kind of like... I mean, the most two, like, I guess the best two free agent AWPers, if you're looking for an AWPer now, would be me or Grad. You would have to choose between the two. So it's, do you want a guy who's very nice on Twitter, or do you want a guy who's a troll and probably going to do some stuff that he shouldn't do? That's, of course, he's going to get picked every time, right? But yeah, that's like the...
nice pitch for yourself there.
Yeah, but that's literally what it is right now, like, in the team-wise, you know? There's no teams, because if not, I would be in it. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm struggling to see now.
Look, if I had to choose, just completely disregarding the Counter-Strike perspective, just looking at the Twitter perspective, you're my pick every time, man. So much more interesting to have a guy like that.
Thank you very much.
As long as you don't do anything contracts and drinking Red Bull when you're sponsored by Mountain Dew or some shit, that's fine. So you can do the rest of the shit. Call people cunts.
I would be as if I've done that.
I'm just saying that's where you have to draw the line. You don't upset the sponsors. Don't upset the sponsors. You upset everybody else. That's why my one rule. All right, what do we got here? The G2 NiKo stuff, I think we touched on it just before, but we may as well touch on it again. There's some tweets that are going down at the moment. I think like NiKo replied to that article you guys put up saying W2F, and now Olof's replying to that. And this is all happening within the last 20 minutes or so. That's basically confirmed, right, Striker? It's happening?
Yep. Pretty much. It's very close to happening.
Is it Amanek?
That's what's being assumed, yeah. I don't think it's confirmed that's set in stone yet. Or at least not as in like in a report or anything, but that's the assumption, yeah. Okay. And it would make sense, to be honest.
Do we think it makes G2 better, Striker, or do we think it's gonna? Yeah,
it's a fucking upgrade in every way, man.
But so now we're gonna have the daddy of the region with Nexa. Do we think there's gonna be any step in the toes there? Like, or do you think NiKo's gonna be happy just to go back to not in-game leading?
I think he's gonna be happy going back just to having like a star role rather than having to fucking in-game lead everybody. He's been wishing to get away from that role for such a long time now that I think he's going to be very happy not having to do it for a while. And I think he's still going to be like a good secondary, caller, just pitching with ideas and stuff like that. But I don't really think there's going to be any problem with stepping on anybody's toes. Not to a big degree, I don't think.
So looking at this here, Prof, who takes the bitch roles, or does no one? They just be a lot like hyper. Everybody on the team is able to do everything, kind of like heroic.
That's I don't know. Jax, right? Should be Jax. Yeah, definitely. Jax is one of them, but usually have kind of, yeah, most likely NiKo, yeah. But
NiKo is very versatile, so I can see him slotting into whatever is necessary.
I feel like they have a lot of very sharp tools, though, right? Like Kenny, obviously, in recent times hasn't been as amazing on the AWP as what he was a little bit earlier in the year. But Hunter and NiKo with their aim is going to be something to really marvel at. And I think NiKo is really good at filling the gaps when people aren't doing the proper jobs. But one of Jax's best bits is the fact that his aim's really sharp as well. So I'm worried about like not overlap, but someone's going to be throwing a couple more flashes for here.
Oh, NiKo, 100%.
He only gets 2 around.
Of course, but then he can control Jax as well. That's 4 around. And the thing is, I feel like how NiKo is going to transition as a player as well. I think he's going to bait a lot more and be like this, like the Cold Zero kind of player who he sets other people up who then give him the information to win the 1v3, to win the 1v2, you know? Like more, no, of course he's not going to be fucking like at the back just buying all the nades and taking Mac 10s. Of course not. He's going to have the AK. But I think because right now he's kind of IGLing, anti-fragging, lurking, AWPing. He's doing everything on FaZe, right? So he's only going to have to do like 2 things. And I think you have Jax to go first on T side. Jax and NiKo will create the space. Hunter's always third in. Then NiKo will be like... NiKo and Hunter are just going to be next to each other all the time. And Hunter very rarely goes first and he's normally second after Jax and just cleans up, you know? And then Hunter will clean up... NiKo will clean up for Hunter. Then Kenny can be at the back. And then NiKo will just be lurking somewhere. And then, yeah... I think it's a massive upgrade, though.
You look at it very simplistically. Basically, like, if you put in a guy like NiKo, he's going to improve any team.
Sure.
Like, he's that kind of a player who's gonna come in for almost anybody else and improve the team.
This is a big move for G2, though, right? Like, obviously, this first steps was NiKo and Hunter moving away from just the French, and now they're obviously bringing in... The team is no longer primarily French anymore. So this move going forward for the organization is kind of showing the intent. We're talking to Malik quite extensively within the interviews. He's very candid about like the team and stuff. This is going to be a kind of shift of environment for NiKo, though, right? Like he's not going to come in as... I don't know if they'll let him come in with the whole like big boy on campus type vibe, Prof. Like, do you think he's going to not be humbled a bit? They're still going to use him as a star player, but do you think there's going to be an adjustment to that's going to be an issue? Or
I actually think there should be an adjustment of some sorts. Like FaZe... Like the reason I think NiKo wanted to get out of FaZe alongside just like the roster they have right now not working is like as an org, they haven't been there to support the development of the team, right? And now they have that both in the coach, not saying Janko is a bad coach or anything, but the way G2 is set up is kind of top, bottom, you know, the hierarchy, how things function, right? Who's going to pick up the players? It's not going to be NiKo Steam messaging KRB 2 days before like an official, like which literally KRB said happened. Like that is how they picked up KRB. That is not going to be happening in G2. So I think that is good, but it will take some time to like, you know, that some things are good for you, but you can't really stop doing the other thing. You know how it is. Yeah. You need to eat broccoli, but you still eat chocolate.
McDonald's every day. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
So you'll need to get into that mentality and to kind of change the way of thinking, I think, for NiKo in all of these, like in-game, out-of-game situations. But I think it will work out.
Okay.
Especially with like the kind of guys that he's on with on the team, because obviously he has his cousin there, and then the next side, I'm sure they're pretty close. And it's not like Kenny and Jax are like unlikable people. You know, they're going to be, the chemistry I think is going to be good from day one, and I don't think there's going to be too many interpersonal issues with NiKo coming in with like a big ego or anything like that. I feel like the other personalities on the team are close to him enough that I feel like they're going to get along just fine. And it's just about like essentially like the authority that's going to be above him now that maybe wasn't there before, you know, in terms of Malik and the whole structure that G2 have behind them. But like Prof said, I kind of agree that I think NiKo will find this as like a welcome change, at least for the time being, for sure. Not having to worry about every single aspect of a team.
Okay. Well, look, boys, we did have another topic to go, but we've run over like normal here. So what I
like
think,
always.
that always happens. Blast is on right now. We were going to preview some bits and pieces there, but I think the biggest thing is about FURIA and EG. So let's quickly just talk about FURIA and EG, and then we'll close it down, and we'll give this like 2 minutes, and then we'll fuck it off. So smooya, you've been keeping your eye on the global Counter-Strike world enough to know that FURIA and EG are the best two over there in North America.
Yeah,
do you think they're going to really, because you had an opportunity to play over there twice, do you think coming back over now there's going to be a big adjustment period for these two teams to play European, not style, but realize you can't get away with some of the same shitty moves you would do at home?
I would say that like EG are more accustomed in general to playing EU CS. Like I feel like they take a lot of what they play in America from EU. I feel like Stanislaw watches a lot of EU demos, tries to copy the best teams. Like he's not gonna watch New England Wales and go, that was a sick default. Let's write that one down. You know what I mean? So he's probably gonna take a lot of. I mean, I know he takes a lot of his stuff from the better teams. No flame to New England Whalers, of course.
They're making top 30, I think.
Or yeah, 29. They're ahead of Endpoint.
It wouldn't even surprise me, but but with FURIA, I feel like they don't have to adapt. I feel like people have to adapt to playing FURIA, because when I played against them in practice a lot, if you play train, you can't play close E-box because they're just gonna fucking flash team in and 3 guys come out team in religiously every single round, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then when you finally think they're doing something right, they fucking B-pop. Oh my god, Art's out Ivy and their whole team's B-exec. Oh my god, he has an AWP. Oh my god, he's in connector. Like they're just a bit crazy. So I don't think they have to adapt. I think it's people are gonna have to get used to playing FURIA, because they've got to a point now when when they beat Astralis, for example, that time, they were confident, but they didn't know who they were. Like, they didn't know how good they were, you know? But now when they join a server, they're like, you fuckers have to respect us. Like, we don't respect you at all. You have to one-tap us all, 6, maybe even like a whole half in a row, to then finally get the respect, you know? So I feel like it's going to be people have to adapt to them, and yeah, I think they're going to be a problem.
All right. Well, I think what we're going to do is, boys, we're going to leave it there, because Prof, Striker, and myself, we might have another opportunity to do another show later in the week at a reasonable hour. We're going to discuss that today, because I've got 10 days off. So this was a long show. We've done 2 hours and 20 minutes. I want to talk more about Blast. So yeah, we'll probably try and tee up another show later in the week. But thank you for listening again. Prof, Striker, any final thoughts here before we close this one down?
Stay tuned.
Be more like a Kinder.
Okay, be more like your Kinder and stay tuned. Well, that's pretty good. Smooya, you want to do another sales pitch for yourself? Is there an email? Is there Twitter?
It hasn't worked the last 5 times, but just know I'm free. If you guys need me, just Smooya CS Twitter.
There you go.
Smooya, and I'll be live on Twitch as well soon. Later today, guys.
Perfect. All right, we're going to shut this one down, boys. This has been episode 12 of HLTV Confirmed. Yeah, I don't have any nice words to say. Just fucking everyone be nice and
stay safe.
Chill out. Goodbye, everybody.